79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.
We start that. I gotta go.
Be a pretty strong feminist. I've actually become a feminist again. Feminists, though, can be some of the worst people you'll ever meet. They can be like some of the most nasty. They'll take advantage of contradictory world values, right? Worldview, which is that like I'm talking about like psychology and mental health for men, and yet I'm in a field that like is overly feminized and shoving drugs down men's throat. And I'm like, and I'm still recommending it because I don't want to lose like the baby out with the bathwater. Just because not all therapists are well trained to work with men. Just because a lot of therapists might even be biased against particularly like incel type men. If they hear misogynistic language at all, they might like shut you down. So and it was just difficult because I didn't want to be like super like nasty and mean or anything.
All right, it's starting to grow on me. What's up, guys? You guys
I don't know about you, man.
Hawk?
That one sounded very erudite. I don't know, man.
The inspiration for that one was like 1980s Cosby sitcoms and and me being a dick. All right, episode what are we on? Like I don't even know what episode it is now. But the point is we're talking about the Longhouse. A lot of you guys still don't know what it is. Hawk actually introduced me to it, if you can believe that, and I love it. Thank you. I haven't publicly thanked you for that yet because it is impossibly hard to say gynocentric, feminine, imperative social order in a sentence without sounding like a complete moron. Longhouse is just so catchy.
Yeah, it gets right to the point, doesn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so for the sake of the audience and for me, actually, like, what's the history of it? Who started it? Who was the first guy? Because all I've ever seen was there's that, was it, which magazine? You know the one I'm talking about where somebody actually wrote it in like the New Republic or something like that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but like everyone just really just equates it with like Bronze Age pervert is really, where everyone points to. He's, there's always arguments going back and forth, like who officially like started using the term, but he by far is the guy that popularized it the most. You'll see it on his Twitter. He talks about it in his book, Bronze Age Mindset. And for guys in the chat who aren't familiar with BAP's work, he actually got his start Chateau Artiste, on those old forums.
Oh yeah, somebody was telling me that. I couldn't believe. I can't picture, like, was he using that same 4chan language in the Chateau Artiste comments or no?
I'm not familiar if he was posting under his name or if he was using a different name back then. I mean, on like political Twitter, everyone kind of like goes through rebrandings every 5 or 6 years or so. If you're not like one of the huge accounts, so you might have been posting on something like a different name back in the day. But yeah, he speaks fondly of Artiste in his book and on his podcast. He takes it to different places than you and I would. He takes much more of like a F. Roger Devlin stance on things. But he's still a very entertaining guy.
Wait, as in like F, as in fuck Roger Devlin, or as in he likes F. Roger Devlin?
He likes it.
Oh, yeah, that's funny because it's that's the one thing on the sidebar. I actually, when I was modding there, I'm like, why is this here? And I talked to the other guys and nobody knew why it was there or who put it there. And the whole rumor was there was a brief period where an incel was saying enough good stuff to get him on the mod team at the Red Pill for like a couple weeks, and he added it in there. I don't know, the reason I didn't like it was just because it sounds like it sounds like a revenge fantasy to me, but as opposed to how it came to be right, but it's just missing what you can do with it. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, I guess. What are your thoughts on Devlin?
Yeah, I haven't read too much of his stuff, to be honest. I mean, I've read excerpts of it, but again, it's like, do you really need it when you actually internalize the material and everything, and have your worldview set up, about the things that we talk about the relationships between men and women, it kind of seems superfluous at that point, from what I've read. It definitely does have that revenge fantasy that you've been alluding to in it, because it's like, if we do XYZ thing, this is how it's going to turn out, and this is what needs to be done to fix the women. And it's like, well, good luck with that, man.
I know, if you just yell at them hard enough, if I call you a whore on Twitter enough, you'll stop your thought and ways and you'll find the Lord.
Yeah.
But wait, no, that's right, because you're again, this is the part I love. Other than Dalrock, you're my only source of the religious side of this. The women did find the Lord and they nagged him into submission.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is why, I spend a lot of time on dissident right, like the right wing Twitter, like people will call it the new right, whatever the hell you want to call it. And it's just infested with so many trads that just seem to think in their minds that, the best way to fix the situation, and they're referring to like the degenerate world that we live in these days. The best way to fix it is to immediately have men man up and marry chicks as soon as possible and have a bunch of white babies and, populate the earth. And that's how we're going to win. It's like, well, how about you learn how to walk before you can run, and nobody wants to hear that because, everyone wants to point at, premarital sex is destroying the entire world. And I take the position that this is just complete bullshit and was never really true. I think the rates of premarital sex were way, way higher in the past than most people think about. One of my buddies who I run this company called the Old Glory Club. It's like a American right-wing news and history such. And one of my guys who I associate with that runs it with me was doing some research about the colonial America. And he was talking about in the Quaker and Dutch, Pennsylvania, from a period of
that's like the Puritans, the Mayflower people, right?
Yes, yeah, the Puritans. It was a period from like 1755 to around like 1770. It was something like 72 to 78% of marriages were shotgun weddings. It's just okay. Well, the most Puritan culture basically ever to come over here, and people were still fucking like rabbits. And like, oh, you impregnated that chick? Time to wife her up.
If anything, that makes like Anthony Johnson the traddest guy I know.
Oh God.
I don't mean to throw shade at him, but he's just so deserving it.
I see him get retweeted sometimes by people I associate with. I'm like, uh-oh.
Really?
Yeah. Well, they just don't know. They see like president of the manosphere and they're like, oh, okay, he's the guy you have to go to then. Like, no, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
Holy jeez. That's the most gullible thing ever. Like people just say things on the internet before and everybody just believes them.
Oh, do you know who's really popular over there is actually your boy, Pat Stedman, because he's a big Trump supporter, so everyone got around him and he's like, look at him. He held his convictions true. And he went to J6 and
oh, that makes me laugh so hard. It's like, yeah. And that's the thing. Like you're talking about trad people, right? And it's always about like worshiping, having more babies. What do they call that? Neonatalism. But then the one thing he did that just screwed over his kid's chance for a healthy life, got arrested like weeks before he was moving with them to a new country. All right, whatever. I guess it's like everything. Everybody just wants the team sports and everybody else to make sacrifices.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Jesus. Well, that makes so much sense then why the conservatives don't like me either then.
Well, the right is just because they've essentially been beaten down for basically 100 years in the West at this point. And the state has backstabbed them every step of the way. It's almost like a Stockholm syndrome at this point where they are just so obsessed with grabbing literally anybody that has been, ran afoul of the current like social order. Like, oh, we got to bring this guy in here and he's one of our guys. They're just grasping for any, semblance of legitimacy from those at power. And it's tough to watch, man.
Well, I was going to say, because isn't that usually the guys that are desperate and insecure are kind of where grifters find their best marks? Is that the impression I get? Like, I only know it mostly from like Cernovich kind of starting it and Ryan Holiday and that.
Yeah. Cernovich.
Although I guess they are like, oh, that Islamic guy Tate, he's really speaking truth to power.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you saw this, it was a couple weeks ago. Candace Owens like put out a tweet just like, I'm really starting to like this Andrew Tate guy. I was like, oh my God, all of you fuckers need to leave.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, that made me laugh. I was like, I just see quote tweets. I'm like, all right, fine. And it's the photo of her with Tate and all that stuff. I'm like, all right. And everybody dog piles on. I have a hard time commenting on those anymore. I used to love just shit posting them, but now everybody else beats me to the punch with all the right lines, and I got nothing left but like open contempt, and that's not funny.
Yeah, well, it's hilarious because our group T-Rex Army guys, once one person like retweets somebody, everybody else gets on like that guy's radar and just immediately dogpiles him, which is hilarious to watch.
That glass of water, man. Yeah. For the audience, guys, if you guys aren't on Twitter, you don't know this. Like the T-Rex Army, it's the joking thing we do. Me started it as like a response to those guys who talk about no jerking off in November, and the T-Rex has short arms, alpha predator. It makes sense. It's a way of showing not to take it seriously. Anyways, so anytime somebody notices a really stupid tweet by somebody really stupid saying dumb stuff, they just put that gif of like the water glass shaking in the car in Jurassic Park, and then usually ends up with Mish getting the guy banned. But it's like a weird way we found to pass the time online. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, Misha's account is a must follow if you're on Twitter. The guy's ship postings are top tier. I love it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I love about Mish, right? Because Misha's everybody doesn't know. Misha's come up like put in the work. He's come from like a very bad place to being in a very good place. And then the one effect that most red pill guys have when they do that is they really don't suffer for fools anymore, like at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Just have no patience for the bullshit. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to quickly take a pause here before I forget. We got the super chats. Ashley Brown, $7.99. Thank you very much, sir or madam. Those damn unisex names. Staying up late to catch you live to send my support for all the work. The book is great. Taught me to shave my balls. All right. Masculine Ashley. Got it. Thank you. At least I hope so. Oh, look, there's Mac in the chat. What's up, Mom? Taking time away from being the perfect new mom. Come watch us shitpost. Glad to see Ryan giving this guy more airtime. Dude, Nico gave you a full heartfelt $5 career-ending super chat.
Oh man. This is where I have to talk about the cock article. Oh dear.
Yeah, you start yelling at Mac in the chat here. That'll be the great way to get
yeah,
your career going.
exactly. Heartfelt.
I still feel so bad for him, man. Like, Murphy's there, cucking the wife thing, yelling at the girl online, and then he sees, like, Sneeko and Destiny. He's like, what the...
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He walked so those guys could run, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so back to the Longhouse. The part... So, big disclosure on my part, I haven't actually read BAP yet. And I feel bad about this, because I've tried to watch Caribbean Rhythms. It's just the voice. It's hard for me to do it. It's an aesthetic thing. But the book's been on my to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
So when he talks about the Longhouse, like, does he just refer to, like, the Iroquois tribes, or?
No. One of the things that people get mixed up with when hearing the term, they immediately associate the Longhouse with the structure. They think like, oh, Vikings, Viking longhouses. Vikings lived in longhouses, so that's what he's referring to. And no, it's not really that. It's this, well, he goes over the history in his book, but BAP points out to this tribe of people called Indo-Europeans, and they were essentially, steppe warriors, like Scythians, horseback riders, like pre-Mongols, and essentially they invaded Europe sometime around 4000, 3000 BC, and he refers to these guys as like the peak pinnacle of masculinity, like piratical lords, he calls them, and they come down and they crush these gynocratic societies that he refers to as longhouse societies. And this is when you see many, many changes in historic Europe, going from, like agricultural longhouses where everyone is living in a communal hut. It's a small group of people. There's a matriarch in charge. Masculinity is, it's kind of like, what do we call it? Like a female friendly masculinity kind of deal.
Oh, yeah.
That's what he's referring to with this. It's like everyone is stuck in this longhouse. They're all living under the same hut. Everyone's having sex in a communal area. Everyone is worshiping the women. Everyone is worshiping like ground and earth goddesses and all these kinds of things. And then you have these masculine, madmen basically come through and just kill them all and start, new civilizations. And this is a history that he refers to in the book. And he extrapolates this term longhouse into the future, where it's basically just what we just said right there. It's like female-friendly masculinity. It's like, oh, no, you can't go out and conquer this other tribe. You have to stay here and protect, the elderly women.
Yeah. Well, I did notice that because, like, for me, I didn't actually think of the Vikings, which makes sense. For me, it was like the native tribes up in Canada. Like the Iroquois was that way. And yeah, like there was no patriarchy. Everything went through like the female line. Same as I think Judaism does that too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is why Lenny Kravitz is Jewish, but like Mel Brooks isn't, or I can't remember. Somebody had a great reference.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at JQ stuff, so
yeah. I don't know if we want to start down that rabbit hole on this.
Oh no, dude, I'm so ignorant. No. There's like the West Coast, no bagels. So when I came here to the East Coast for the first time, and like I was still at like the novelty phase, asking about the holidays and stuff. I know nothing, almost nothing.
Yeah, and so BAP's book, Bronze Age Mindset, is. I did a whole episode on my show, episode 36 of Man's Hour. I went and discussed it for like a little over an hour if people want a more in-depth look. But yeah, I like it. It's a very enjoyable read. It's kind of like the book is basically broken up into 75 short essays, and they're kind of like rambling thoughts. It's not an overall like arcing, novel or nonfiction book or anything like this. And he'll just go through, different essays. Some of them refer to the Longhouse. Some of them he talks about like men of history and men of power, he calls them. And another big point of the book is he talks about this concept of own space, which is one of the biggest or most important qualities of being a man in BAP's vision. And the concept of own space basically is essentially what we call frame. You know, it's just like, yeah, do you have ownership of your body, which is why he's a big advocate for going to the gym and all that good stuff. Do you have ownership of, you know, your finances? Do you have ownership over, you know, just your vision of what you want for the world? And he just calls that own space. And he rails against, you know, the gynocratic world we're living in, because nobody's actually allowed to go out and conquer own space anymore. Everything has been longhoused. Everything is sanitized. You know, like kids can't even go out and get in fights anymore because, you know, all the schools are, you know, run by wine moms, you know, and everything like this. So, yeah. And he refers to our, yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say that's actually funny because I love convergent evidence, like because he's kind of doing it from his angle and we did it from ours, and it's all pointing the same spot. But yeah, because you were talking about like the own space, that makes sense with frame, the working out thing. It's not the reason we do it, but yeah, I really enjoy, mostly because like it's everybody, like Erudite did that one where there's not a lot of rigor with your guys' nonsense, and I'm like, not really. Mostly just guys did it and it worked. And yeah, it could just be pigeons dancing over like randomly dispersed food pellets, like the BF Skinner thing, but it gives me warmth when I see like BAP doing it and getting to that same spot anyway. I would love it if there was some crazy lefty American thing that was also getting there, but I don't think they will. I think they're too busy just bickering. Bickering over nothing.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely I'm going to be a little bit biased just because these are circles I run in, but I generally think that, you know, the right side of, you know, Twitter these days is basically the only spot where any thinking is getting done. You know, we're like new ideas, ideas
so
are being discussed. Well, yeah. Like this is what we've come
all
to.
The idiots in is the only place that anything gets thinking. Like, all right, fair enough.
Exactly. A bunch of anonymous frogs on Twitter are posting, you know, things, and that's how, you know.
Dude, the frogs I don't mind. Ideas. It's the anime. It's the anime avies. Those are the ones.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of those too.
But I also makes sense with like the pedo scares. Like, you notice this? Like, you were talking about the Longhouse, girls don't want, you know, kids don't go outside and play anymore and all this stuff. And it's always just about being terrified about people diddling kids, which is, like, nobody diddles kids anymore. And the few people that do, it's either Uncle Touchy, who's been invited in the house, or the parents are actively pimping their children out to somebody on his island. So it seems like it's dark. Just a non-issue, but it's been built into this weird hysteria to the point that, like, even the Babylon Bee is making fun of Walshy's "What is a woman trans bathroom" thing. Did you see theirs?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. No,
it's but the funniest thing, man. I never laugh at the Bee. So this one, it was like they made a "What is woman" documentary, and the guy took 15 seconds. He's like, "All right," or "What is a man?" He's like, "All right, chromosomes, dick, and testicles," and then it's like an hour and 20 minutes of credits of all the people who worked on it.
No.
And then their second take was that, like, sources are like, a leak has been found. Matt Walsh actually knew what a woman was this whole time. They made me laugh.
I never bothered to even watch the doc because I knew exactly what it was going to be. You know, it's just fighting your enemy on their own terms. You know, meeting them as if you can defeat them in like the marketplace of ideas, which is a term I despise. But it's just no, don't ever fight on your enemy's turf. And conservatives, especially the establishment ones, just do this all the time. You know, like the right wing are the real feminists, you know, because we had the first woman in Congress, the first woman in the Senate, and
Lincoln was a Republican. I know.
Yeah, exactly. They do this shit all the time, and it's so infuriating to watch because they make the mistake time and time again. Well, depending on who you ask, it's not a mistake; it's just a grift, which, you know, is becoming more and more likely for most of these people.
That's what I was going to ask. What's your take on that? Do you think it's just stupid people, or do you think it's manipulative, like grifty people?
I think it's both. There definitely is, you know, like, I'm no fan of most of the Daily Wire types. I think they are, you know, establishment shills all the way through, and will just pick up on any nonsensical story to try and make it seem like their worldview is somehow being held on, and they're just one election away from saving everything and fixing everything. And you know, all the meanwhile, they're just doing like the cringiest kind of, you know, attempts to get involved with the culture and everything like this. And also, you know, they're just literally leftists from 10 years ago. They accept all the presuppositions. They just want it slowed down a little bit. Like, oh yeah, we're the really inclusive guys over here. Like, look, here's this gay Republican or this black Republican or this woman Republican we just pulled off the street 5 seconds ago. Look how great we are. And it's just so tiring.
Dude, Canada's doing that. Actually, Canada's been doing that for a while, which is funny. We're never as entertaining as you and we do, though. Like, I'll give you an example. Our current Conservative Party of Canada leader is this guy Pierre Poilievre, which, by the way, brought up a fucking NDA when he brought up Trudeau diddling underage girls during Parliament. Absolutely hilarious clip if you ever watched it. Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, I remember you getting kicked out of your job as a teacher halfway through the semester with NDA signed. What's up with that? And I was like, oh shit, he went there.
That's the kind of stuff I wish our politicians would do.
Oh, but that's the point. Because before him, 2 years back, before the last slap in action, was this guy Aaron O'Toole, and he was trying exactly what you said. He was like, "I'm just as Trudeau as Trudeau," but he's like a balding, middle-aged, fat, uncharismatic dude. And they're like, why don't they just take the pretty version that's already in office as opposed to you? And they literally tried to make the Conservatives liberal-friendly Conservatives and just got crushed. Although, in fairness, I guess we're finding out a lot of that was just because China stole our election, but whatever. Allegedly, according to our version of the NSA, they stole it. Because depending on who you ask, that might be just an evil right-wing national security apparatus talking point. So,
yeah, well, this is another thing that Bap talks about. You know, in his book, he's by no means a fan of democracy. You know, constitutional republic or otherwise. You know, which is like always the catchphrase that people will use over here.
Oh, so is he a monarchist?
He's a vitalist. You know, he just wants the return of, you know, the. Well, essentially, like, are you familiar with Rousseau and his noble savage, you know, concept? You know, like, man in the state of nature is just going to get along. Bap takes the opposite approach. Like, man in the state of nature is war, and basically that's what he wants to return. You know, he doesn't really care about he doesn't care about the many. He cares about the few, and he makes this argument in his book that all cultures across all periods of history, the only people that really matter are the elites. Because the elites are the ones that actually hold that culture together and carry it on to the next generation.
Oh, what is that? The big man of history theory? We know that's not.
Yeah. So he doesn't really care too much about, you know, well, he gives him a lot of names. You know, one of the things you're going to get out of Bap's book is because it's self-published. Let's just call it very not politically correct. So just be aware of that. If anyone wants to pick up this book, it's probably a book it's going to be something like you've never read before. But I generally really enjoy it, and I think it's pretty hilarious too. Just the way he talks and the way he describes things. He's like, yeah, this society is an open air zoo. You know, it just gets right to the point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I probably won't disagree with it. To be fair, I want to get a collection of banned books. Like, everybody keeps talking about the books they don't let you read, and it's always some lame stuff. It turns out Canada actually has like a proper banned book list. Like, there's ones that Canada Post. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I got to go look it up. I got it on a list. It's if Canada Post sees it in the mail, they're obliged by law to confiscate it. So when people order their version of it, it's something like I think it's called the Turner Diaries.
Oh, really?
And he does, and it's not even like a crazy thing. It's just some guy writes about a race war that happens in the States and then the aftermath of that. But I've always been curious then if all of these banned type of like un-PC books are actually like really good books and they're worried about it, or if it's like a Mein Kampf thing where like even people who read it, they're like, this is the worst writing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I would hate to find out the only thing that's been banned is like writing in poor taste.
Yeah, he published the book Self in, it was either 2018 or 2017, so it's been out for a while and still continually is within like the top 500 books on Amazon or something like that. So
well, isn't its award? It's like the best self-published book in history or something, or like it's got one of those type of things.
Yeah,
of all
at the time it was. I don't know if it still maintains that title, but I mean,
well, I don't know if Savage Spear the Unicorn by Delicious Tacos is up there yet, but I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
I can definitely sell you Fuck Files didn't make the list.
I still have to read Tacos is The Pussy. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
The Pussy, you know what? I found this out when I was talking with Billy Pratt and him and Tacos. Everybody's first book kind of had the same vibe. It was almost like a semi memoir vibe to it, and it was like a lot of his old like degenerate pickup stories. Like my favorite one is where he ended up doing crack with some chick in like the ghetto on the lawn. And there's sort of a lesson on it, but it's more like that's like a lesson that I would never hope to have to learn. It's interesting, but he definitely like the boost in quality, in my opinion, between that and now for some very good news. It's like leaps and bounds. I still have Savage Spear the Unicorn I got to get through, but I'm hopeful that that's going to be even better. So
yeah, he's
but you'd
definitely
like it. It's good.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting guy. Seeing him post on Twitter and everything, he takes I don't know what would I call almost like a misanthropic side of like the red pill or something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I think he was. I know he's pro Royce too. I don't know if he was ever like posting in the Chateau Artiste forums, or maybe in Royce and DC he was, but he was definitely in that space during this time.
Funny enough, Tacos and Bap are friends. Tacos went on his podcast for once, and they had
on a man's podcast, dude.
Yeah, yeah, they had like it's like a 2.5-hour discussion. I forget what episode of Caribbean Rhythms it was, but I remember it being interesting. Of course, they talked about prosties for most of the time because Bap also is he's a huge advocate of that. Well, I won't call it huge, but he's like, yeah.
I know. I almost want to say there's like a trifecta. There's Bap with the philosophical stuff. There's Tacos with like the literary stuff, and then there's like I Am Renault with the Twitter posting version of it. His Fat Bitch Fridays, like I don't like the fat bitches, but I just find the theme of it hilarious.
Yeah, no.
And I don't think our T-Rex Thursdays is going to match because I can't find a lot of like big boobed chicks wearing T-Rex masks. Surprisingly enough, it's fairly niche.
I don't know. We're gonna have to get him Roman Opium Tales to start drawing some. I know he's gonna get working on that pretty soon. But,
that's good. Yeah. By the way, if you guys haven't, he does a lot of great work. He's the one that actually. So you see that version of Fuck Files there. He did the cover of that one for me.
Oh, Roman did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It was really nice of him. I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice because we had like that online Rule Zero thing, and I'm like, I wanted to give everybody a gift bag. So I'm like, it's a fair chunk of change just to hear us give some like good speeches and that. So I'm like, I did together like a goodie bag, and there's only like 12 editions of that out there, and it went to all the guests that got tickets for it. I don't know. For me, it was just a nice little thing. Like guys are giving us time. And time is so hard to get now. Like, how much do marketers pay right now? No. Just for like 5 seconds of your attention?
Yeah, really. A lot. Yeah.
Back in the day when the Super Bowl was like the big thing, now it's God knows how much the Daily Wire paid Twitter for advertising that stupid documentary.
Oh my God. Yeah. And who the hell's going to sit down on Twitter that doesn't have, Twitter bandwidth for videos that are 20 seconds long is already garbage. Who the hell's going to sit down and watch, an hour and a half long documentary just on Twitter? Shut up.
That's what I'm wondering. Like I will admit, like YouTube figured it out with premium, how you can like have your phone off and just listen.
Yeah.
But Twitter doesn't have that functionality. And I think that's one of the things they need to get. But I've also checked the numbers. So I did some of my old practical female psychology videos on there. And what I found was the view count, it's about 1/10 of what I would get from YouTube with a similar sized like follower count, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're either going to have a cost per 1,000 views that's 10 times higher than what YouTube is, and good luck with that. Or they're going to have to find some way of boosting stuff like 10%, 10 times as much. Plus they got to fix the usability. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see how like his plan to monetize people's content on Twitter is going to work too well. There's just so many technical barriers.
It's funny, like when you, I get the notification sometimes, even on my account. I'm only sitting at like 4,500 followers, and when you're in like the membership thing, it'll give you an estimate as to how much money you could be making off Twitter through memberships. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Elon. Like even on my account, it's like, you could be earning $630 a month. I'm like, shut up. There ain't nobody paying that much for Twitter subscriptions. Stop.
In fairness, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try it. I know there's a couple people that have. I don't know where it works. I used to think the same thing about Substack, but it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Substack, and it's definitely run by our guys, so to speak.
I don't even want our guys, dude. Maybe it's just because I'm in the red pill space, but like our guys, nothing makes my butthole pucker more than hearing some guy like, "Oh, I'm part of the red pill tribe." I'm like,
yeah.
When has that ever ended well?
No, it's true. Yeah, it's true. But if people are going to be in power, I wanted people who are more sympathetic to me as opposed to my enemies. Doesn't necessarily mean we're all in like a same group or kind of deal, but yeah, I mean, like Elon takes over Twitter. He's vaguely on my side of things as it relates to freedom. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put him
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I guess that's fair. It's better I don't want to say the devil you know, devil you don't. I don't think there's a good cliche for it, but I get it. At least somebody who's more sympathetic is more willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. But you also have to be smart enough to know that, like, yeah, this guy isn't, in my corner. He doesn't even know who the hell I am,
Yeah.
and say that for
most
everybody.
people don't.
Yeah, exactly. So
I tried following Elon for like a month, and I was like, never again. Because everything he did, if it was good, yeah, our boy did it, and then everybody's bad. Why have you betrayed us, Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah. Again, that's what I was saying. Like I was talking about earlier, everyone is just attaching to the savior. Everyone wants a savior to come. Everyone wants Julius Caesar to come in and destroy all the corruption. But that's
Dad
it's crazy.
2.0.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dad, she hit me first. Mom, she called me a tranny. Oh no. Oh yeah, I can't. I finally got my first hey, careful, this is TOS violations. I'm like, I think that new CEO took over. Yeah, it was Chrissy Mayer was some tweet about something, and then Hotep Brian was talking to her about getting her on the show, and then some other guy underneath's like, hey, when can I get on the show? And then Hotep said something like, well, once you get canceled. And I just kind of laughed like, hey, you want to see some shit? Be some shit. And then everybody's like, actually, he's a pretty good comedian. I'm like, I'm sure. Just let me shit post in peace, man. But where was I going? Oh, yeah. But then the reference was, and the guy was like, that's because I did some racist jokes in New York, and now nobody will work with me. I'm like, well, if Chrissy can argue about the I guess, troons, I can say that now.
Oh, yeah.
And then Twitter just like, nope, nuke that shit. I'm like, oh, the new CEO's in.
Yeah.
So now it's back to euphemisms.
I love that's one of my favorite things about like right-wing Twitter is because it's constantly evolving to get around, on YouTube it's Susan who's always watching, so the euphemisms and the special language is constantly adapting, which is a nice barrier to entry for things.
Yeah.
Somebody comes
and
in
surprising from a space with so many autists that euphemisms start coming out.
Yeah, I almost take the opposite point. It's like, because there's so many, like of course they're gonna come out. Yeah. But it's an interesting place to be. But yeah, this Longhouse term is catching on way more, which is what I really, really like. I love just captioning over basically any, Twitter nonsense coming out from a conservative who's saying like, the way to fix women is for men to be better and do everything that's not in men's interest, but specifically in women's interests. It's like Longhouse. It's all you have to say.
It's just so catchy and intuitive. Like, it made, as soon as I heard it, it made intuitive sense. Like, I get it. Longhouse, women running the show, matriarchs, guys are basically just fodder for the fire. Like, and it's like perfect. That was right up there with like when Trump with his meme magic, or Peterson with the frog and the keck thing. Just sometimes it just takes something really catchy like that to draw everybody together. So I'll cheerlead it. I swear to God, I'll cheerlead it every chance I get.
Yeah.
I
enjoy it. I enjoy it, and you see it everywhere. And it's once you start like looking for it, it's crazy. Everyone talks in the same kind of language. Everyone's like, oh, it's all the faults with what they call hookup culture, even though there isn't one. People are having less sex than ever. We know this from all the data. All of it is like those evil. What does Peterson bitch about all the time? It's like
he blames the pickup artists sometimes.
Yeah, and the Machiavellian traits, like dark triad. That's what he's always going on about. He's like the dark triad personalities, are the ones that are responsible for all the problems with women. It's like, get the fuck out of here, dude. You don't know what you're talking about.
And then of course Rolo will throw that picture of his daughter with Tate's like, tell me more.
Oh my God, that's such an amazing photo.
Dude, the whole thing about the Peterson like shit posting iceberg, I like Jordan. I think he's awesome. I mean, I liked old Jordan. The thing he's doing now, like, I understand why he's cashing out, but like it makes me sad.
Yeah.
But what was that one thing on the iceberg where the whole reason he started going anti-communist is because of his daughter's husband was the Russian guy?
Yeah.
I don't know, it was some interesting stuff anyway. But I mean, now he's Daily Wire. It's like, whatever, get your paycheck, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't even tweet. He's like, here, hon, you handle this
Twitter.
Twitter
Oh my
account.
God, yeah. His Twitter is crazy now to look at. He's always, let me say, she's always tweeting out that fucking picture from the clown from It all the damn time on like it's weird. It's just like,
oh,
this,
really? Pennywise?
Yeah. It's this quote tweet she's doing all the time over something like some trans activist or something is saying something stupid and just like tweets that photo over it. It's like, I don't need this in my timeline 47 times, sweetheart. We get the point. Get new material.
I like that one. But yeah, and then for the Longhouse one too, the part I like the most about it is it's just when you see the demographics, that stupid chart Rollo had, the one of like the age cycle, like
Oh
35
my
to
god,
50.
yeah, perfect
I
every
have
time.
yet to see anybody engaging in longhousing that doesn't match that chart specifically.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know,
Like you can, yeah, every time a girl is like, men need to step up, you just look as like, birthday is like, oh, that's about 29 years ago. All right,
Yeah.
checks out.
Tommy Lahren flashes before your eyes. Yeah, you know,
And then
Yeah.
every guy is always the kind of guy is like, I bet you anything you have a really good job, you'd be a great father, you've been working very hard, and now you have a chance to settle down, don't you?
Mm.
Like what's that? Matt Walsh with his shaven beard. The photo of him with the fedora and the no chin.
Did they really? I missed this one.
Yeah, well, it was just somebody talking about what he used to be before he became whatever the fuck he is now, the baby boy plushy kid.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's a terrifying photo of the stupid Matt Walsh baby plushie.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But yeah, it was him in a fedora, in like a graphic T-shirt, shaved, and he had like one of those kind of chins.
Oh really?
Yeah, and that's like the rumors, and that's one of the reasons that whole like don't shave off your beard meme started.
Mm. He's the like only guy on Daily Wire I actually watch with some degree of, well, don't watch his content, but I keep my eye on him to see what he's doing, because he seems to me like he seems like the guy who actually is genuine the most out of all like the Daily Wire people.
Really?
In my opinion, yeah.
Well, no, I'm honestly, because I disagree so much, I have to know more. I have to know more.
It seems to me in so many circumstances, and he was always kind of like he was the latecomer to the Daily Wire lineup. They had Michael Knowles and Andrew Klavan, who were both Hollywood rejects, essentially, were those two guys. Klavan was like a screenwriter, and Knowles was an actor. And those were like the two like big names they picked up first, alongside Shapiro, who started the whole thing. And then the fourth guy they picked up was Matt Walsh, and he kind of got his start in, it's like a South Carolina, North Carolina, and he just got to start doing a bunch of videos basically in his car. You know, like the old style where people would just like sit in the front seat of their car and like rant to their phone. That's where he got his start. And then he came on, and he seems to be the guy that is the most unorthodox out of all of them. And maybe that's like a containment, which it very well might be, but he's always the guy that's kind of pushing. What do you mean by
containment?
I mean by that is he's kind of like the guy who will throw out vaguely like very unorthodox right-wing positions to kind of like signal to more like right-leaning people to come back to the center kind of deal. And it's, in my opinion, I think he's getting held back on a couple of his more controversial opinions by the higher ups at the Daily Wire. But I still think he's completely hopeless when it relates to like the complete, trad, wearing everything as a skin suit that he likes to do. He's just completely, I mean, he really just is like the epitome of Longhouse thinking whenever he has to talk about intersexual dynamics or the relationships between like man and the women and how men need to fix things. He's totally on board with men got to man up and fix everything kind of deal. But at the same time, he's talking about some very, very, unorthodox opinions on the right. He's like, yeah, we kind of just need a dictator in this country. And I'm like, that's pretty right wing.
I mean, you kind of got one now, to be fair. It's just,
that's true.
They put an old man in front. That's the only difference.
Yeah. But that's like the argument that somebody like Bronze Age Pervert would make all the time is, and this is one of the central themes in his entire book, is that nobody is accountable for anything they do as it relates to politicians in this day and age. And his main argument is, if you have one person in charge, everybody knows that guy's in charge, for better or for worse. So they're like, okay, he gets all the praise, but he also gets all the criticism. And if he gets all the criticism, it's much more easy for people to get rid of him, so to speak.
In other words, they know where to aim the pitchforks.
Exactly. And then
Simon Sinek talks about that, actually. The tip of the spear, first cut of the meat. That was the way, was it leadership? That was how leadership used to happen in monkey sphere tribal organizations, which is funny because he's like the TED Talk poster boy too.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently TED Talks is returning to monkey. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. It's just, we're getting to the point across the entire West where everybody is just looking for different solutions at this point. Like, no matter what side of the aisle you're on at this point, it's like the cat's out of the bag. Like, what we have here is just not working. It's not working for most people. Most people can't start families. Most people can't have homes, and everyone's taxed into oblivion, and, everyone's getting indoctrinated with all manner of, it's just so weird how everybody's just obsessed with politics. It's like, you shouldn't be. Most people shouldn't be caring about this stuff. But you have like, 12-year-old kids that even I know who are talking about like, some stupid lesson about climate change or learning in class. It's like, this isn't important. I don't know, maybe you should go and like learn how to, I don't know, shovel some shit in like a driveway or something, shovel snow, do anything, other than bitching about like, your political future. It's just so weird.
It is weird. But I will admit, Canada figured out the solution. People will change when they have to. As soon as avocados hit like $10 a pack or like $2.50 an avocado, all of a sudden people start, hey, wait a minute, what's this inflation thing? Hey, why is this guy giving money to the We Charity? Hey, why is this guy talking with McKinsey and Co.? It's like a fascinating place, and it turns out all you need to do is mismanage the economy for long enough, then all of a sudden people start thinking about practical issues right now, like house building.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice. You'll see us. We'll go into our dystopic future, and then we'll figure things out. And you guys can just take lessons from that, from your mud hut Canadians up north who learned it the hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you realize the only reason we didn't get screwed over in the COVID thing was because you guys were inflating your currency so much that it made everybody else inflating their currency so much not look as bad in comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I even noticed this when I was just over in Europe. I was shocked how like much cheaper things were over there than they were in the States, which is very weird to me.
Really?
Yeah, it was very bizarre. I chalk it up to maybe it's got to do with something like with the taxes, because like it's majority of your taxes are on income over there, and everything's like kind of roped up into the price of things already. But when I go over there and I went to buy a pint of Guinness, it's like $3. It's like, well, it's like double that in the States when you go to like a bar, or like even just in like a grocery store. I was just getting like very basic, like I did over 100 miles of hiking when I was over there. So I was just picking up, like odds and ends, like apples or whatever. I'm like, wow, this is really, really cheap.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed when I went to Europe too. It's booze is the cheap one. Water's expensive. Pop's expensive. Booze is cheap as hell. All right. Excuse me. I'm going to do a quick break only because I haven't shown you guys my favorite one of the ads. Where'd it go? I did Nasty Woman. Oh, there it is.
Here's a story of a cocky lady who thought her gold standard was legit. Then finally when she got an actual challenge, it all went to shit.
All right, I think that one's going to be my favorite.
Yeah. I hope way more people in the chat get that one for sure, because that's hilarious if you know the source material.
Yeah, they eventually will. Most of these ones, nobody understands them, but you just have to show them for like 50 videos in a row, and then they'll catch on to it.
I still like that Matt Walsh one so much. It's hilarious.
Dude, actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it.
I don't usually post pictures of my kids online, but they're infants and you can barely see them, so, it's fine. But a YouTuber named Ryan Stone tweeted, showing off the F trophies for clout. So the babies are trophies that I'm showing off. It's perhaps not a surprise that a picture of a proud father would be so upsetting to the sort of man who clearly never had one.
I'm such an asshole.
I love it. Just a little like lion's roar every time.
Yeah, MLG so Gaming 420 headshots. Gotta love it.
But again, that's
you were talking about like solutions. That I agree. I do notice though, like everybody wants a solution, but nobody wants to put any work towards a solution. You notice that?
Yeah.
It's always like, I need you to fix this for me. I need you to fix this for me, and that's why nothing gets fixed.
Yeah, it's the learned helplessness that everybody's got.
Ooh.
It's just infecting everywhere. And like I was talking about earlier about how like the right is just so desperate to get anybody with any semblance of authority on side, and it just always blows up in their face. They invite people into their tent, and lo and behold, like as soon as it's no longer expedient for them, they just pivot to something else. It's how many times has this happened? It's crazy.
The part that gets me about all of this is, there's that part of it, but it's nobody learns either.
Oh yeah. I mean,
like Tate found Islam. All of a sudden, they love Tate. He hated women a minute ago, and now they love him. And he's going to do something else, and then they're going to hate him, and then he's going to start becoming like a progressive. I'm surprised he doesn't have like some Tate Rainbow University thing going on right now, and they'll love him for that. And it really is just a case of like put enough stuff instead of front of somebody's face, like jangling keys. But there's like so many things you could do. And I've seen there's some people that do things, but they aren't really loud about it. They're not trying to recruit. It's not Amway. Like joining the school board.
Oh yeah.
If you're just local school board, and then the school marm can't do stupid stuff there anymore. Or HOAs. Boy, I did not realize those were so contentious.
Oh
Holy
my God.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're insufferable here. You know, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, like what we were talking about earlier. I mean, well, Andrew Tate's a perfect example for this, like the pivoting stuff. I don't know if you've have you seen like the Andrew Tate foundation that he does, and he's got like a bunch of Africans in like Uganda like holding up a flag for like the Andrew Tate Foundation next to a well that just
Did he
got
really
built
pull
or
the
something.
PewDiePie thing and do that like Fiverr?
Oh yeah, yeah. Or I've seen other
awesome.
ones. I've seen other ones too, where it's like shelters for battered women. You know, or
Oh, that one I saw, yeah, because that was on the accusations of him being a woman beater. He's like, I love women. I just started the Tate Foundation for the whatever that's not prostitution of women.
well, it's so funny because this is actually a point. Well, also Bap makes reference to Tate in some of his podcasts, and of course he's not a fan of the guy, but he references this in his book about how like even the elite men of today are just complete sissies compared to the ones of the past. And he makes this argument about people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who have more money than, you know, God, essentially.
Yeah.
Lesser men with far less access to resources in previous times were doing far more. They were raising armies. They were subverting their nations. They were starting coups. They were going on expeditions to foreign lands, you know, just to basically do whatever they wanted. And what do the elite men of today do? They sleep with porn stars. They, you know, pay off media politicians to stop them from their scandals. And they basically just try and curry favor from movie stars. And it's just like everything is, well, I can't say what he says on his podcast. We're not allowed to say on YouTube, but it's very
nice. He's dropping those.
Yeah, everyone's just F, you know, everyone's a bundle of sticks, you know.
Well, that's the problem now. It's because nerds are like, your brain is what gets things. The guys who make Twitter net. So it's all the guys that wanted to be liked in high school, and now they finally have their chance. I think that's why, what's his name? Zucker. He started to do like his full prepper pivot and doing jujitsu and stuff.
There's a hilarious line in Bronze Age Mindset where he writes down, he's like, can you imagine Zuckerface killing another man and fucking his wife? No, you can't.
You know, it'd be funny. I have no doubt that Zucker seems like one of those insecure type guys who will like try to read this. And he's like, and that's why he put on the tack vest and he's doing jujitsu and that. He's like, his goal now is to murder somebody and fuck his wife and get away with it.
I knew
He's got a team of eggheads in the other room.
Yeah,
like, all right,
probably
the fucking corkboard.
I remember this was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. This was going around how he was getting really big into hunting, and he went on like some wild boar hunt and killed a boar with a spear and then cooked its food and ate it. I remember that was making the rounds a couple of years back, which
Really?
I mean, hey, good for him, but you know, still not you know, still not a big fan of him.
It's the performative part of it. That's the part that probably gets you. That's what gets me. That's why I hate seeing all these guys. It's like, for some reason, their masculinity is directly proportional with the amount of time a camera's put on them.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, like it's just so bizarre to be in that position where just everything just has to be a face that you're putting on for something. You know,
Yeah, kayfabe, man, or kayfabe. Isn't that what they call it on the Daily Wire? Kayfabe.
Yeah, exactly. It
Sucks. All he had to do when he did the Google thing is push the little speaker icon and it pronounces it for you.
Weird.
But no, I first found out about the performative stuff from TikTok. It's where people were talking about. Remember that? There's a couple tweets I used to do. There was this one where this chick was like doing a TikTok dance in front of her grandmother that was like dying on the bed next to her. Ugh. And then you go down that rabbit hole. There's some chick who lost like a 16-foot boa constrictor that snake died. So she gets the camera, properly places it, sets the sad music, puts the snake back in the cage to take it out and cry on camera. And then I think the worst one was this chick whose baby came out like it was either a stillborn birth or a super premature birth that they had on IV life support. And she's fucking dancing in the background while explaining all these horrific things. And I realized, oh my God, how much stuff is performative? And then, it's like nobody thinks I got to put a lav mic in my back pocket just in case I have a chance now to fight a tiger or whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's so bizarre for people who are like actually like genuine people. It's like why would you go through like all this effort to I don't know, learn how to like go and hunt and go through the effort of like killing a boar with a spear and cooking it, learning everything about it just to, get some more PR. It's just such a foreign way of thinking to me. But yeah, a lot of people
Well, it's a
think
feminine
that
way
way.
of thinking. It's
Well,
all
yeah, that too.
reputation management.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like actually here, I'll throw it in the chat. It was technically an older kayfabe article before even mine. It's from Whisper. Obviously, if I'm referencing somebody, it's either going to be Rolo, Whisper, or Archwinger.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brought up the same stuff where it's like it's usually good to do kayfabe, but it's never good to be fooled by it. And that's what gets me too. So many people, they'll see this perfectly coordinated, nice edits, scripting, and they'll still buy it wholesale, like literally thinking wrestling's real.
Mm.
And then the example he used here, and this is what ruffled a lot of people's feathers, he talked about Navy SEALs. Like everybody thinks Navy SEALs are these bigger than life warrior poets. Like they can't be drowned. Oxygen doesn't work on them or whatever. And he's like, it's just light infantry with better gear and some extra training. Like that's it. And it's not even saying it like it's a bad thing. It's like, but that's what it is. Meanwhile, everybody's like, yeah, they drown you for 20 minutes and the guys you survive get to be part of the squad.
I don't know. It's like everyone just has to have their own larger than life image, especially when you're going into like a combat zone like that. I mean, like they did this in history. Like the Persian immortals were always 10,000 strong, and they never left corpses on the battlefield to give the impression that they can't be killed.
Yeah, it's all PR. It's all propaganda.
Yeah, that's why it's worked for so long. Because it works.
And that's the problem now. Is I argued. So back then, I would argue that's like an aristocrat thing. If you were wealthy enough to fund armies or do all that, you were able to do the kayfabe and convince other people of things. But now, we've given that same power to the common man, and that's why you got 500,000 brands of me, the asshole.
Yeah,
and I have to do it, and that's the worst part. Is like, I can't even fault people, because like if I want to sell books, if I don't want to have a 2-hour commute to work a day, I have to do this. You have to do the same thing. That hawk was a deliberate choice. Yeah. You're not an actual hawk. I don't know if people know this. You're actually a human being. You have legs and arms, hair, all of it.
I still got sharp talons, though.
Yeah, sharp talons. But that's more of a hygiene thing than like a hunting thing. Like right now, he's sitting in a chair. He can't fly. I hope you don't mind that I'm spoiling this.
No, you're screwing me up, man.
Yeah, and then watching, so you'll watch a lot of guys. I noticed this too because I had a big hate on for Cernovich, mostly because like I knew Cernovich, and the fact that I knew how naked a lot of his grifting was kind of what irritated me. But I realized half the people that I was engaging with in my little peer group on branding, whatever, were just repeating his talking points worded differently as like an advertisement to get invited into his circle and get access to his audience. And that scared me too, because think about this. What's the point of, like, if you want to do like an online business, the whole point of that is so you don't have to have a boss, right? And so what's the first thing these guys do? The first thing they do is they suck up to try and get another boss, defeating the purpose of it.
Yeah, it's a real good point.
You're actually a revolver. Fair enough.
Yeah, they're cool. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, but that scares me. But I don't, because you don't like, you're doing a little bit of online branding, but you're not trying to make this your sole source, or is this your sole source of income?
No, it is not my sole source of income. No way.
But like, how does it look from an outside perspective then?
How do you mean by that? Like,
well, like I know from the inside, I know most people are fake and disingenuous, and I have the receipts, whatever. I know Fresh and Fit don't actually give a shit about what they're talking about. I know Walter just wants to get free poon, and that's why he's doing the podcast. I know Myron doesn't give a shit. He just yells because it sells tickets. I know the whatever guy in the background is actually just like a prank video guy, a complete nerd. Like, I get all this stuff, but for like an outside person who may not know all the behind the scenes stuff, how does all this thing look? Does it still look just as shitty and contrived, or?
Well, yeah. The thing is I spend times in our circles here, and then also in the right wing sphere, and you basically have the same issues in both places. Where there's people that are fake, there's people that are grifting, there's people that don't want to actually put in any work of any kind. So there's always that. But I mean, I guess the reason why I'm here is like twofold. One, like I do actually want to have some semblance of change in my country, which is why I went and started a company with a bunch of other guys. We're having our second in-person event here down in Nashville at the end of the month, which should be pretty fun. But and then the other side of it is like, it's tough to find like-minded guys, with the things that we talk about. I was talking about this with Jack when I went over and visited him in Europe a couple of weeks back. It's just so nice to have everything kind of already come as written kind of deal. Like we're coming from the same place. We understand the same language. And then he and I just went out. We ran sets for 6 hours at this festival, and we had a blast. We had such a fun time. We're bouncing off of each other, and it's just so refreshing because you just don't have these kinds of people in everyday life. So and if I can have set 1 hour aside a week to do my show and talk to cool people and maybe make a little money on the side to help pay for gas or whatever. I mean, why the hell not? I enjoy doing it. So I'm just going to keep on doing it. And if people want to listen, they can listen. If not, then no skin off my back. I got over 1,000. So that's all I really care about.
You big fucking softy, you. Look at that, even Jack. It was amazing.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
But no, it's for me. You know what it was for me? It's like you don't have to be guarded. You can just kind of relax, and you're not too concerned saying the wrong thing. Worst case scenario, somebody's like, "Dude, come on." And that's as far as it has to go.
Yeah, well, it's just so weird because like the guys who have the biggest accounts are always the ones that are just watching, their brand every day. And it's so bizarre to me because it's like you're making all this kinds of money from super chats and ad revenue and everything. It's like, why do you need to keep on going? Like, why are you watching trends? Why are you pivoting all the time? Why are you looking at your likes to dislikes ratio? It's like, fuck off. Who cares? If people want to listen, they can listen. It's so like weird. It's like a new prison.
Yeah. And it's like you were saying too with Bezos and that they have all the money in the world, and what are they doing? Basically, like weird science. I'm gonna find me a hot prostitute, or I'm gonna do some nerd shit.
Yeah, it's so.
I don't know. I think it's because people latch onto the symbols, like making money and being the most popular kid in school or the most popular brand on this, but they don't think of like what the end purpose of that is. I think that's a vision thing. I really do.
Yeah,
because like you had a vision. It may not be the biggest vision, doesn't have to be a grand vision, but you want to make enough to subsidize the things that you're enjoying, right? That unguarded male camaraderie. I like it. I'd like to spread it to other people. I want to do the little bit that I can to change my country for the way I'd like to see it to be. And this business helps me accommodate that. And then once you get to the point where the money is enough to accommodate that, you don't make sacrifices you don't have to. It's rare.
Yeah. I mean, and also it's just a way for you to be genuine too. It's like, yes, what people see on my Twitter account is just the genuine me. I'm making edgy memes. I'm talking about dinosaurs. I, talk about like things I want to go and shoot and eat. I'm talking about, whammon and everything like this. It's like, yeah, it's just the way I am. And if people don't like it, okay, I don't care. Move along.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point, right? Like you want a like-minded audience, while the people that do the grifting, they just want the biggest audience possible. They don't care who it is. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll make shit up. And I think that explains why so many of these guys have those horrible, like why Steven Crowder is so hated right now. Because he was ruthless about building his brand.
Yeah, remember that was a huge thing too. I mean, speaking of the Longhouse and such, when all that drama went off, oh my God.
All because he was saying mean shit to pregnant wife. How dare you, sir?
Yeah, unbelievable. Nobody knows the context. Nobody knows what's going on in that household all the time. And the thing that you see the most is, and you saw this too with Rollo's vasectomy tweet. It's just guys will just come out and pull some kind of rear guard action that somehow limits guys power. And whether it's, control of the birth, whether it's, in the divorce courts, whether it's anything that could possibly be changed to give men more of a leg up, people just pull rear guard action for it all the time because it could possibly hurt the women someplace, somewhere at some time. And that's like the number one cardinal sin in all of like the right-wing circles is you just cannot offend the women unless it's the ones that are like saying that they're women. Then you can go after those.
Even those though, man. I remember that. Who was the Chelsea Handler? Is she the 50-year-old one that likes showing off her tits? I remember she did something about what it's like after the abortion, and she's like, I killed Hitler because I got all this free time now. And I noticed even the trad chicks were back in her play when the guys were trying to pile on her for clout. It's like sisterhood uber allies just gives no fucks.
No,
and you got to give them credit. Like imagine if guys had that level of will to power.
Oh man,
the point that like my concerns above all, dude. We'd have that. What do they call it? We'd return to monkey tomorrow.
Yeah. But guys like pussy too much, so it'll never happen.
That's just chore play. It's the same as anything. If I was more comfortable because you did more dishes, we'd have more sex. And I think guys took that and they turned it into an ideology.
Well, that's literally the thing you see all the time with, and there's some very prominent, like right-wing Twitter accounts that are women, and they do have like some interesting insights and things. But naturally, because like guys are so thirsty for some kind of direction in their lives, and because they've been trained to see women as authority figures their entire lives, naturally they gravitate towards these girls, and everything they say every single time is basically chore play. It's like, oh, if something isn't going right with your girl, if you're not attracting like women, you need to do something like nicer to her. And anytime somebody like myself, somebody like you, or anything, or anybody that we associate with says something to the effect of, no, you're allowed to spin plates, you're allowed to have your own agenda, you're allowed to conduct your life as you see fit. Oh my God, you guys hate, yeah, exactly. Oh my God, you guys hate women.
Yeah. I always like that one. It's like, oh, you're supposed to love all women. I'm like, all of them? What about Casey Anthony? Am I supposed to love her too? Nobody ever responds after that one. It seems like it's the one faux pas to bring up girls that murder babies. Which, what was that one stat? One right-wing guy, I don't remember how I found it, but he did it like once, where he pointed out how women, when it comes to murder rates, guys, they mostly murder each other, but women, it's like predominantly infants.
Wow.
And I'm not even talking about like the abortion stuff. I mean, like literal like SIDS and shaking them and strangling them.
Yeah, I'd believe it, man. I'd have to look into that data, but it's just like these guys are so thirsty. One of the things that, well, there's that, but the thing that probably pisses me off the most about these guys is the only time they actually bring up the differences between men and women are with the most fucking retarded things in the world, like female sports. Yeah. It's like who the fuck cares about women's sports in college, guys? It's like, oh, we got to bring it up because like some, troon decided to, go swim with the women's team and won a bunch of medals. But that's the only time we're allowed to talk about the differences between men and women. We're not allowed to talk about the differences between men and women when it comes to sexual strategy and what we want, at what day, like at what time men and women mature, what like their timelines are like. We can't talk about any of these kinds of stuff. Representation in the workplace, none of this shit.
Dude, the estrus cycle. Heaven forbid you bring up women cry once a month.
Oh my God. You can just hear it in my voice. Like, I'm just so disappointed in these people. It's like, really? Like that. And one of the things I got really in trouble for, and this was like a year ago, this is like right when my account was popping off. And I asked like a bunch of trads, is like, is it okay to spank your wife? And I had like an argument going on for days in the comment section between.
And you didn't even specify like punishment spanking or sexual spanking, nothing.
No.
Just
it was like, is it okay? And there were some people saying, well, as long as you don't do it with like malice in your heart or some shit like that. And then there's like, no, you're never supposed to do that because your woman is the image of God. You're not supposed to do this. I'm like, okay, like you're just getting conflicting reports from everybody. Everyone has an opinion on it. It's all contradicting each other. It's like, okay, this is just not important. Stop.
Dude, that's awesome. As far as like engagement shit posting, holy fuck, that's chef's kiss to you, sir. Screw the vasectomy pill. I want to talk about the spanking pill.
It's crazy because like, can you just imagine? You really just can't imagine like, I don't know, somebody like Matt Walsh just kicking the kids out of the house for a day and locking the door and just having an all-day sex fest with his wife. Like, you just never picture them doing that.
I couldn't imagine him even suggesting it.
Yeah,
like mentioning the words. Which is crazy because like, and I have like a little Patreon community and it's mostly just like red pill 101 college type stuff, like a syllabus, right? And for most of those guys, it's amazing. That literal thing you just said. Like, what do? I can't have sex to kids there. You kick the kids out of the bedroom, aim for sex during the times when kids are preoccupied with something else. And they notice, holy shit, my wife's mood gets better. She starts listening more. She stops yelling at the kids. I'm not frustrated and angry anymore. And then like the kids stop misbehaving because both the parents are in a calm enough state of mind that they can just be consistent parents instead of like mom yelling at the kids because she had a stressful day. And it was just like, that small thing you just said there pays huge dividends. Huge. But guys won't even think about it.
No.
Can't.
I think so much of this comes from the fact that so many people just grew up in such like crazy dysfunctional households where, you've kind of just imagine your parents as like these asexual like beings, like they don't flirt with each other. You couldn't even like picture or like the example I just gave with Matt, like no one would be able to picture that with their own parents too. And so many of these like trads just like go in with this expectation that, oh, like sex is just for, making babies. You're only supposed to do it like a couple times, a year or some nonsense. And it's like, how do people think that this is a functional, relationship dynamic to have? I remember I did a similar poll. I asked everyone,
I'm starting to really like your polls, by the way.
what is the healthy number of sex that you should have a week in a relationship? And I remember there were like a couple trads going around here. It's like once every other week is fine. I was like, dude, that's literally the definition of a sexless marriage.
Yeah.
Like once every other week. And you think that's a good like thing to be aiming for? And so many people were agreeing with this guy. He's like, oh, it's just so bizarre to me, man. It's
and
like,
that's not even speaking to the quality either. Like I talked to a lot of those guys that have the once every other week, once every month ones. It's just such a phoned in thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And again, one of those small strategies. This is one of my favorite. This is one red pill thing nobody talks about enough, mostly because it just never passes muster on any like ad friendly shit. But when you're just getting starfish, phoned in, duty sex, what do you do? And then like there's the two strategies. Hotep is the only guy I've seen talk about this. The first one is just go caveman. Like if she just wants to sit there and be a warm hole, just get yours and get out. The idea there that the sexual aggression can sometimes spark up some interest. Or you just stop mid thrust, put your pants on, you know what? It's not working. We'll do it later. You don't get angry, don't get irritated. You just treat it like, oh, well, the milk went sour. We'll get milk next time we're at the store. And then what guys will find is between those two techniques, you're going to find is the issue just you're missing sexual assertiveness, in which case the caveman stuff tends to get a little bit of alpha going. Or it really is your wife's just not attracted to you, but she wants to be the good wife, and so she puts out. And then when you get up and just, you don't care and you're not angry about it, they get really mad because you're like taking away their way that they can picture. Like, I'm a good wife. I put out every couple weeks. And then when you take that away from them, chicks get mad. But you'll never be able to talk about that to guys. Matt Walsh will never mention that to his flock. He'll just say masturbation is the equivalent of killing baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, okay, quick thing here. Doug Chisholm, $49.99. Thank you. Yes, I did the work, but you and men like you, example, Rollo, shared the knowledge. It's helpful to solve relationship issues, all relationships, sexual, professional, family, social. Thanks. Doug, dude, nothing but patience to give you gratitude, man. You earned it. But here's the thing. The reason we say that, and you already know this, but it's because you did 90% of the work. Flat out. All I did was I read a bunch of nerds talking about stuff online with their marriages. I tried some of it myself, and I wrote it all down in like different wording for other people. Rollo just took Evo Psych, and then he took his pickup forums and he mushed them together. I don't mean it to minimize anybody's work, but really 85% of it, 90% of it is just Doug Chisholm doing Doug Chisholm stuff. And I always hate those. I used to love the idea of testimonials. Like, those ones, oh, you saved my life, Red Hawk. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I'd have been blah, blah, blah. And then you realize it's just, I don't know, the bar for them starts to get really low. Like I'm seeing people thank Fresh and Fit for saving their lives. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. Nah.
Like how close was your life to death, really? Once you yelled at that bitch, I swear to God.
Did it fix everything?
Yeah, it clarified the universe for me.
Yeah.
When you kicked her off, I kicked my ex-wife out. My life's been great ever since.
No,
I won't even buy White Claw. They're Bud Light to me, sir.
Most guys aren't gonna make it, man. It's just how it goes. But
that's why I don't think it's gonna work for your right wing circle. That some guys aren't just gonna make it. It's just you need that gatekeeping mechanism and letting in all of the downtrodden, canceled people into that right wing space. Like if they were losers in the other space, what makes you think they're not going to be losers in that space too?
No, it's true. Like the guys that I associate with try to do our absolute best just to gatekeep the hell out of our organizations. And thankfully for us, we have enough examples at this point over the last like 25, 30, maybe even 50 years of organizations time and time again going through the motions and, basically falling for the same shit. I mean, you'll see this pop off like pretty much like once a year as well, is that there's always going to be some guy who invites, one of these like e-girls, like these right-wing e-girls into one of their spaces. And of course it always ends up causing problems. DMs end up getting leaked. The guy looks like a fucking idiot. Everyone takes the woman's side. It destroys the entire space. That guy has to like repivot and rebrand into something. That girl gets invited onto something else to get more clout, even though she did absolutely nothing except just show up with boobs You know,
Yeah.
it's just same shit, different day, man.
Oh, I'm remembering a specific example that went exactly like that. It was what the chick, Cake in a Crisis. Do you remember this chick?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah. Well, there's the reason that e-girls have like a 2-year shelf life. They always leave. Anyways, there was this Cake in a Crisis chick. Now I remember her. She was like the trad cheerleader, just like you were saying. And at one point, if you let them tweet enough, they'll tell you who they really are. And she was telling us this horrible story about when she had to leave her husband. Is that her grandma or her mom had the flu or was sick or something like that. And the husband wanted to take naked photos of her. And she was so disgusted by this. She was basically saying, how dare you want to see me naked when my mom has like strep throat? Some stupid shit like that. And I was like, holy fuck, no wonder why you're divorced. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, but here's the debacle. So they were doing some masculinity conference thing. I don't know, Order of Strongest, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen of some sort. And she was invited, and Roman McClay was invited, and there were some other guys. And I guess Cake just went full Me Too on Roman McClay, got him booted out of the club and all this stuff. And I'm just laughing at the whole thing. I'm like, told you guys, stop bringing these fucking crazy bros into your thing.
Well, you know, I guess it was worth a shot, right? No.
Yeah, and now so to date, my one interaction with Roman McClay was laughing at him for letting a woman into his space, which got him kicked out. And then him like, yeah, Ryan, you were right. And then I just realized like a year later, he murdered those 6 people because he was so angry at chicks. And I'm like, fuck, I really hope I didn't. You know what? That guy's got a point. I was thinking it. He said it. I'm like, no. You're not pulling that shit on me.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, Zach might remember. Yeah, Cake in a Crisis. That was the one. There was all they come and they go. There was Cake in a Crisis. There was Danny California, who ended up dating the Dino, whatever his name is, one of the War Room guys. Before then there was someone nobody knows. Remember her, it was Claire. Who's the new one now? I guess that's Kate 2. Kate 2.0.
Kate 2.0, yeah.
Yeah. And they're all super nice, and that's the problem, is like they're all very pleasant people, but I don't even think it's the girls' fault. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think girls are just going to do what girls do.
Yeah.
It's all the guys that simp for them is what causes issues.
Kate 1.0 is in my chat fairly frequently. You know, and it's just pat him on the head, move along.
Yeah.
You know, nobody needs to. I was actually talking about this on my show yesterday. I wanted to run an experiment of using Twitter as a dating app, but I ran through all like the circumstances and scenarios in my brain. And I was like, you know what? There is absolutely no way this is going to work, and I'm going to come out unscathed from it. So it's just not a smart idea to do, because no matter what happens, like something's going to get leaked somehow, and everyone's going to take the wham side, and everyone's going to bitch about Red Hawk doing something, absurd as, making a dirty joke or something like that. I'm like, you know what? Even though I really, really wanted to try this, because I wanted to see, how quick I could get some of these like rad femmes to basically like go back to just being like pleasant, normal women. And I was like, you know what? I don't think this is a good idea.
Dude,
not
if you
gonna
can
do
get
it.
Radfem Hitler to start like calming the fuck down, I'll buy you a whiskey. I'll buy you the fanciest whiskey that money can find.
Funny enough, I've got a friend that I associate with that is friends with her IRL and has dinner with her occasionally, which is very, very interesting to hear. Like the let's just call it the behind the scenes things about that. And of course,
I've heard of that. It's what is it? Never ask a man his salary, a woman her weight, or why Radfem Hitler can't see your kids, or something like that. And I was like, holy jeez. And then I just stopped. Like, I blocked her. I'm like, for her own sake, I can't have her spurg into my things. But I don't want to know more about her, because I'm worried the more I learn about her, like the more I'll hate her. I'm like, I would rather like. It feels like you're piling on at that point when people start bringing up their like real life problems. You're like, I don't want to bully you anymore. You actually sound pretty sad.
No, for sure. I blocked her old account, blocked her new account. It's just, I don't need that. And the other thing is that everyone just falls for the bait, like every single time with all of her tweets. It's like, okay, they're going to end up in your feed anyway. So it's just how it goes.
Yeah. But it still makes me laugh. I'm almost wondering now about your little experiment. Somebody's got it. Who wants to be the sacrificial lamb? Who's willing to go up against the Longhouse? Run this experiment. Get one of these radfem chicks to be like a normal human being online.
That's what I was thinking about. I mean, this again, I was talking about this. There was this tweet which I've now found out was ran by a guy's account. But that's besides the point. And I just I tweet out this meme, the classic meme of like the 30-year-old guy, the 21-year-old chick. It's like I could send, and then the 30-year-old chick off to the side says I
Oh,
don't, and
yeah,
that went crazy viral like the past couple of days. And I had one of these rad femmes who I've had interactions with in the past, and I just quote tweet her because I was not having it. I chose violence. It's like, go suck your man's dick. You'll both be happier. And I'm not dealing with any of your bullshit. Actually, I want to respond to this guy in the chat, the Simon guy. I actually did do a collab with Dave once. It was maybe 8 or 9 months ago. I went on a show and we had a little discussion or a debate, and I don't know. He's an interesting guy, but obviously we're going to disagree. He's one of the prominent tradcons on dissident right-wing Twitter.
There's Simon the Place. There it is. This one here's what you're talking about?
Yeah. I did do a collab with him.
Dave the Distributist?
Yeah, Distributist. Yeah.
What's his gimmick? Like, I've never heard of this guy before. What's his gimmick?
He came out of like the Curtis Yarvin sphere of influence. If you're familiar with Yarvin's work at all.
Is he the mold bug thing?
Yeah, mold bug, yeah.
Okay.
So
I just remember something about Lord of the Rings references, and I think there's like a triple parentheses reference there, but
hobbits and dark elves, and
then the picture of him in a leather jacket that seems perfectly out of place.
Yeah, well, and then the other thing is when his actually, I don't need to talk about Yarvin and his issues with the women, but it's just everybody. That's the other thing. The other thing that kind of drives me in like the right wing spaces and everything like this is those guys really, really, well, I don't want to say they need this kind of stuff, but just so many of them are just so screwed over when it comes to their choices with women. They just make like really fucking stupid choices. Like, I'm just going to get married really, really quick to the first girl I met off of like right wing Twitter, or, whatever the hell it is. Like, happy wife, happy life kind of stuff is rampant in those communities, and I don't know, like, I try not to be like super savior guy, because like I understand it's just not possible for what you can do. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I grew up in these circles and it really fucked me up with my early development as it relates to how to deal with women. So,
oh yeah, all of us,
Mm-hmm.
Hell, I watched my entire town just get decimated. And it didn't even like nobody changed. The guys never changed. The girls never changed. All that happened was they added softwood lumber tariffs. And then an entire town's level of like family arrangements just disappeared overnight. That was like my first red pilling when I realized sometimes you can do all the right stuff and still get a bad outcome.
Yeah.
And then the red pill part, I kind of learned, well, if you stop making unforced errors, it makes things a little easier at least. So there's nothing you could have done. It's easier to live with that than, man, I fucked that up,
Yeah, it's true.
All right. So Braver Leech, what do you guys mean by men raised as defective women? I've heard this so many times, but I can never find where it comes from. I think that one's a me original, possibly Rolo. But yeah, when men are being raised as defective women, it's a reference to failed parenting strategies. So Athol K talked about when it used to be like cottage industries and farmers, men worked at home, women worked at home, men were there, even though they weren't the primary caregiver. And so while women tend to use identity as their parenting strategy, guys tend to use like rules and structure. Good boys would do this, bad boys would do this. And guys are like, just don't fuck up or you're going to get a licking. And then the idea is now that guys are in the office and they're not at home, that whole male experience during the kid's prime developmental years, like 2 years oldish, is gone. And then guys aren't teaching anymore. And so girls are using that same parenting strategy as teachers. So kids will make all the way up to like 18 years old with no male authority figure to teach them like a rules-based way of doing things. And then the problem is, sorry, I'm ranting here, Red Hawk, but I'll finish.
No, you're good, man.
The problem is that the female identity-based one is always based on seeking validation from women. Because as a child, you actually have an instinctual survival need to have your parents like you. And so guys get this instinct, which is fight or flight, but just about appeasing women. And they don't know why they have it, but it's just literally that scared little boy who's afraid of being abandoned, which is a death sentence, that's been evolved over their entire adult lives. So that's what it means by men being raised to be defective women. And then the side effect of that is they tend to pick up the worst qualities of feminine habits, like cattiness, gossip. It's the same as women. They're doing it the other way around, where women are told they could be anything. So they become drunken frat boys.
Yeah, it's the same thing with branding that we were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah.
like all these trad guys are just so obsessed with adopting this brand, which they all view like the main issue with the modern world is the fact that like there's no more families anymore. And so like, okay, well, what do we need in families? Well, we need men, we need fathers, because everyone knows that single motherhood is bad and it causes problems all the way across the board. So people will just adopt the, the monocle or the moniker of the patriarch, and they just adapt their entire worldview into this one thing, their entire personality. And you saw with Crowder, it's like the guy's basically like dead now. Like he's had like 6 or 7 people now leave his show over the years. Everyone is dogpiling on him now, and he just lost this whole thing that he worked his brand up to. Is like, I'm the guy, the Christian guy who had a rocky past, and I did it right, and this is what you're supposed to do. Or it's the same thing with Matt Walsh. It's like, yeah, I'm the just patriarch guy with a bunch of kids, which is why he's got to show it off all the time.
That would explain why that was the bait he decided to take out of all the things that people were saying against him.
Yeah.
And then Dev, that article on the Longhouse, the one I'm referring to, I put it in chat right now. It's this one here. That was it. Because the big reason this got my attention was because this guy Lomez, who was just like one of those anon posters on Twitter.
Yeah.
He tried to give like a proper definition of the Longhouse to mainstream conservatism. And everybody thought that was interesting that all of a sudden the frogs are starting to get their stuff out there.
Yeah. This is
all right, I stand corrected then. Simon might be right then. Defective girls meme on No More Mr. Nice Guy. That would make sense.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, but it's interesting, BAP's sphere of influence on Twitter is like vaguely called Frog Twitter. It's kind of like the meme that people adapt for people in the chat who don't know. And there are a lot of their talking points that have been slowly making their way into establishment right-wing circles, specifically through Tucker Carlson. He's probably the biggest one. I mean, he had Raw Egg Nationalist on his show, which is basically like BAP light, and which is something.
Crawl
And
before you walk, whatever.
well, yeah. And the other thing is, for the longest time until this got on Fox News's radar, Tucker's main writer followed Bronze Age Pervert. He followed Yarvin. He followed all these guys on Twitter and would routinely have interactions with them online.
So that's where that whole meme was that Tucker's watching our stuff came from.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at this. I kind of like not being invested in American conservatism, but watching it go. It just feels like this big social experiment. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm hopeful for the future.
Well, I mean, can't get worse.
No, yeah, I guess it's true.
Well, it could, but whatever. Anyway, Simply Too Awesome, £20, 1 pence super chat. Thank you so much, sir. That's 4 cuck articles we don't have to talk about now. Instead of repeating what Doug said, I'll use this excuse for not telling the guys on Rollo Stream and where to find you. Oh, yeah. Did you watch? You probably didn't watch that one. I wouldn't have if I was you.
Mm-mm.
Did you, though?
Which one?
It was the one where we're sitting in there after the fucking chick was shitting on John on Saucecast and the Endure stuff.
Oh,
and then the erudite trying to kill his career. Like it was all clown shit, and we were having fun with it and joking around. Oh, his Destiny's wife is betting his fucking ABBA and whatever. But then at the end, they're like, all right, tell him where I could find you. And I'm like, to be fair, anybody who watches this, like, I don't want you to follow me. Just don't.
I do remember that now you're mentioning it. Yeah.
And it wasn't reverse psychology. It really is. Like, I'm like Red Hawk. I don't need a lot of money. I just need to make sure, mortgage is paid. My investments for my retirement are going well. I've already got a military career behind me. So, like, it's not like I'm hurting for cash. And I already have a level of income now where I can afford all of this stuff. And so I'm like, I don't need to whore myself out for clout. Like you said, just enough for gas money and you're good.
Yeah. Just getting back to the things I want to do, I mean, I like taking my road trips. I like going on hunting trips, I like hanging with friends, I mean, I don't need that much money, man, which is one of the other reasons why I'm such a big fan of Cappy and his work. Because it's like,
minimalist stuff.
Yeah. It's like, do you really need that much stuff? I mean, I'm driving around in a $19,000 truck, like, do you really need anything, greater than that? Like, oh, I need to get my Bugatti because that's how like the chicks are, actually going to have sex with me these days because they're all about status and money. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Dude, I didn't know Bugatti existed until what's his face was telling me.
I didn't know about it either. But that's
also like that. Like, did you ever watch Kickboxing? I never watched it.
No. The other thing is I'm not like a huge car guy, like there's this fantastic joke that goes around all the time. It's like when you're like a young man, you're basically like your male autism is directed in one of four directions. You either get obsessed with space travel, you get obsessed with cars, you get obsessed with tools, or you get obsessed with dinosaurs. And and
Dinosaurs.
yep, that one was me. So
Yeah, same. I've heard the same one, except for it was dinosaurs, space, ancient Rome, or World War II.
oh well.
I haven't quite gotten into World War II yet. Actually, fairness, mine was World War One. I think I'm like the only guy who enjoys stuff on World War One. Everybody always seems to go after the Austrian painter stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, World War One is probably one of the biggest mistakes in history and caused pretty much all of our problems. If
Yeah, fair.
yeah.
But the air forces, they were more noble. I think it was like the last of the aristocrats in combat was like that was their gimmick.
Yeah,
That and finding out that Canada was basically war criminals was like that blew my mind. Like, have you heard about this Rolling Thunder?
No.
Yeah,
Well, I know the name, but I have no idea the context.
Yeah, so supposedly Canada developed this new warfare technique where the artillery would slowly leapfrog past each other and launch stuff, and the troops would literally walk right behind the artillery. So as they glow off, then you just charge in and start stabbing people with bayonets, but it had to be like very precise or you end up eating artillery fire. Now, supposedly Canada was so effective at it that it was like horrendous, like horrific for other people. Same way as like mustard gas is kind of like a war crime. And so yeah, it was like that was like the Canada's big thing, and that's why we were seen as like being able to punch above our weight in war. And we've been riding that. It's like the Oilers, man. We won the Stanley Cup from 84 to 89 or something like that, and they've been riding that high ever since.
Interesting.
That's Canada. Yeah, it's like, or it's like how racism, they always talk about the Civil War, and it was like, what, 150 years ago?
Yeah.
To this day, they're still like, remember that time we burned down, what's the Atlanta? Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Murdered a lot of babies. Yeah.
Sherman's March to the Sea. Yeah. There's still a lot of bitterness from Southern Americans towards the North, even today.
Can you blame them?
No, not really. I mean, I associate with a lot of guys that are diehard Southerners, and people just forget how big America is and how many different cultures that we have. And it really just is like totally different worlds when you go from like the North down to the South, or you go to the Southwest, or you go to like California or something. Yeah. This country's so huge, and we've never been one culture from the very beginning. We've always had different ones.
Hell, I remember the first time I did a road trip through California when I hit like Eugene and then we hit San Diego. I was like, just Eugene, California and San Diego is a completely different world.
Yeah.
Northern California was calling me pudding. It was in a pie bakery, and it was like it almost felt like Southern hospitality minus the South.
Yeah, California.
Less butter.
Yeah, California is such a strange state. It really is. Well, it's where everyone like first immigrated first, like in the Manifest Destiny kind of deal. It's like they found the gold. It's like, okay, everyone's skipping the plain states. We're going right to California. And so you had a huge influx of different cultures and everything like that. And then the only problem is that the state has like the worst laws in the entire country, but also some of the most gorgeous landscapes. So it's like, okay, what are you going to trade?
Well, yeah, you guys are going to be like New Brazil or New Sao Paulo.
Yeah, probably.
Favelas and wealthy people, which is crazy. I see a lot of like the favela-ing of cities now. Toronto is turning into a favela. California, absolutely. I don't know about the rest of the U.S. I don't really follow them too much.
It's definitely getting that way. Definitely after COVID, because the blue states and the blue cities are absolute hellholes, and basically anybody who was to the right of Stalin was like, okay, we're gonna leave, we're gonna get out of here. So and that's what happened.
I just like that term, to the right of Stalin. I like that. Yeah, actually, yeah. I don't know. Is it just me then? After COVID, it's like everybody just decided to give up.
Yeah.
Like nobody does their job anymore. Nobody wants to do it. Pharmacy, like I remember there was just something I had to get a prescription. And the pharmacy sent my thing to Costco, which I've never done before. And so I went to my normal clinic and like, I've never heard of you. I'm like, what the fuck? And then the doctor's advice was just call all of the different clinics across the city. I'm like, what? You don't have a piece of paper somewhere that said I called this person, sent it there? And it's everything. The guys doing construction don't care. People doing customer service don't care. This Dairy Queen by my place just decided one day to stop paying taxes, and they finally got shut down after like 2 years.
It's everyone is just like it's almost like COVID just had like this miasma that just infected everybody. All like the boomers decided to retire from the critical positions. None of the millennials are in a position to take them over. Gen X is just grumpy at everything and barely cares anymore. And
they're
yeah,
they're the Elmo in the fire.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, that's why I love of all of Cappy's books. I fucking love Enjoy the Decline. That book was way ahead of its time. He wrote that almost like 10 years ago now, I think.
Has it been that long? That was the first one of his I read, actually.
Yeah. But
don't tell him this, but I've read like 3 of his books already.
Yeah, I've read a couple of his too. I'm a fan.
I don't want it to go to his head, finds out he's selling copies or anything.
Yeah. But he is. He's just like the epitome of like the grumpy Gen Xer who's just so sick of everything. Which how can you not love him?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. Like I knew about the economics thing, but I didn't realize his first book was like a deep dive into the economic world and how everybody there was just crazy and insane. And I realized that was 20 years ago. So that was like 9/11ish. So pre 2007, 2008. And when he was pointing out, it's like, yeah, everybody is going to hell and nobody cares. And they get mad at you for even suggesting it. And then it kind of makes sense. Like, how did we end up here? It's because nobody cared not to. It's almost like we get the kind of world we deserve.
Yeah, very much so. But
I love that. I guess I call it like Ronin, the samurai without the master thing. My military career really kind of soured me to any kind of civic duty. So maybe that's just me.
Yeah, very much so. It's like I wrote a thread about this like not too long ago on Twitter as well. It's like, okay, everyone is asking like me, like the new age man here, to man up and save everybody. And it's like, how about you stop fucking taxing me at 50% and stop. One of the first things, if I was ever king, Ryan, the first thing I'd ever do, I would just ban all women on social media from talking about male and female sexual dynamics.
Cordon them off in the makeup tutorial space, and that's it.
Yeah, I just want them all removed from it because this has happened to me, and I was talking to Jack about this too. Like, this has happened to me several times now at this point, where you're kind of like in the very initial stages of building up attraction and rapport with this chick, and you can make like any like off-color remark or something like this. It's like could be interpreted, as like kind of flirting or something like this. Like, oh my god, that's a little inappropriate. I want to deal with it. Or like the chick's friends will get up in her head and be like, oh, that's toxic. That's horrible. Oh, I had one chick said that sounds like Andrew Tate. I was like, fuck. now he's making it into the mainstream and is now actively causing me problems. Fuck you,
dude. Chrissy Mayer, same thing. I was on her show and somebody said, wow, this sounds like the nice version of Tate. I was so mad. I didn't say anything. So I'm like, I can't be yelling at a girl. Like, Jack, thank you, Jack, for teaching me that lesson. Don't yell at the women on the podcast. But yeah, it's like, fuck, no. Yeah, but that would, and you know what's funny too? So that's unheard of to say that. But how often are people talking about like, if I was king, I would ban porn, and that has become its own like niche industry.
Oh my god! No.
They have their own scientists, they have their own research papers, they have their own think tanks. There's like active NGOs out there for the banishment of porn with porn stars in them. So they've managed to like convert Judas. But no social media for women except for makeup tutorials and celebrity gossip, and that right there, instant Austrian painter suggestion.
It would fix so many of our problems, I'm telling you. But of course it'll never happen. So we'll just sit back, relax, and make the best of what we can.
Yeah, I will say the one nice thing about runaway inflation and money printing is that by owning assets, dude, you come out like gangbangers.
Oh yeah.
As long as Toronto's housing market doesn't completely bottom out, which I don't think it could happen. If that's the issue, I think housing price is the least of my issues. I think being able to grow my own food becomes more important. But
yeah. But you know how to fight, So I mean, at least it's not the
better yet. I know how not to fight.
Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Remember this? There was this old. I used to love remember the old. Was it David Attenborough? But those old Wild Kingdom videos Discovery Channel used to have.
Oh yeah,
The African shrill music in the background from like the 70s.
Yeah.
And there was this one episode where they were following these 2 prides of lions. And the one pride was very small and it would always pick on the sick and the weak. But then there was this other pride that had like 5 or 6 like really tough lions on it. And they were like attacking full-blown water buffalo, like not just the weak ones. They were taking down the big ones. And they always had like a ton of meat and it was great. But then after like 2 seasons, because all it took was one buffalo horn in the thing, and then the lion is basically dead. And that tribe essentially died off because they were full of the strong guys picking on the other strong people. I just found it fascinating that the scavengers were the ones that survived throughout it.
Yeah.
And so I almost kind of, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because, like, yeah, the enjoy the decline thing. It's like, well, just make the best of a shit sandwich and don't try too much to go after the big water buffalo, you know?
Yeah.
It seems to work.
Yeah, it's like, keep your head down.
Not even so much keeping it down. That implies like you're just trying to hide. It's just
I
you
guess
don't
that's
have
true.
to hide. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of soy Canada. Other than Ottawa, there is no bigger. This is like Portland, Oregon for Canada. That's how soy this place is, and I don't have to hide. Just do my thing and take advantage, and just don't needlessly provoke people. I think that's a big part of it too. Like, how many people do you know that got canceled because they basically fuck around and found out? Started throwing out gay slurs on Pride Month in front of like loud gay advocates.
There were so many guys that did that immediately when Elon took over, and they just decided to do a bunch of like N-word posting and such immediately when he took charge. It's like, guys, come on. Like
well, that's how we lost TRP Red. It was going to take over for the subreddit. And then what had happened is this one guy, Gay Lube Oil, which is like the Walmart bargain basement version of Bronze Age pervert. He was literally just trying to steal his thing, but instead of 4chan language, he decided just to be an asshole that nobody liked. And that's all he did, because they were like, we're going to make this the free speech platform. Everybody can come here. And he posted so much Austrian painter stuff, and everybody was mud people, and everything was about the people we shan't talk about.
Yeah.
Scared everybody away who had any amount of talent. And then all that was left was a bunch of kids in there yelling at each other because they've already gotten an IP banned from 4chan. And it's just really sad to watch something that could have been better just decimate because the lack of quality control.
Yeah. Gatekeeping is super, super important. With all these kinds of things. I mean, well, we're all experiencing it now. We're all basically associated with, Bugatti man now, and it's just how it goes.
You guys all need to get yourselves a red morning ad, I'm telling you. That was the best part. That was the one part about the erudite thing that I enjoyed. When she's sitting there, guys like you and Fresh and Fit and Andrew Tate. I'm like, hold up.
Stop.
Throw the Tate ad.
Yeah.
Actually, what the hey, we got a second here. Let's do some shit posting. Where's the stupid ad? There she is.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a Ryan Stone.
Yeah, and I was like, in case you have any doubts about how I get along with people.
One of my all-time favorite tweets, and I wish I could save it, but Mish ended up getting the guy's account banned. But it was one of these like fucking Tate Anon guys who was, dick sucking him back. And this is just when he got thrown in prison. And my favorite response ever is he's like, Andrew Tate is like way better than you, man. He's like XYZ thing or whatever. He's like this long rant. And I just responded with the gif of Donald Trump saying, because you'd be in jail.
I do find like there's some sadness to me too, because I realize the reason that Tate is so popular is because literally everybody else is worse. It really is the Tate thing. Like, how did Norm Macdonald put it? Everybody hated Hillary Clinton so much they voted for somebody they hated worse.
Yeah.
I always call it, and that's why everybody's like, why are you such a Trump fan? I'm like, it's not that I'm a fan. It's just that he's the greatest example of a spoiled ballot I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, he's a shit poster. He really is. Like, if a shit poster from Twitter decided to become president of a country, which is why it's so hilarious to watch.
Like, I'm still convinced that meme, the meme where he didn't actually want to, he was just doing this as free ad space, but then he accidentally won and he had to kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
I fully believe that one. I really do.
Yeah. I wouldn't even care if that was the case, because like, I'm just here for the laughs, man.
It wasn't about him. It was about everybody else. It was literally everybody who's hated me for 50 years hates this guy. That's your way of flipping at the bird, taking a giant dump on everything.
Yeah.
Either address my problems or I will continue to piss in the punch bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Meme posting will continue until morale improves. Yeah.
Well, I like Claudio's take here. Yeah. Trump is the 90s movie kid bully we all miss. Yeah.
Yeah. Nuke's a good guy. He's doing good stuff.
He platformed that fat girl that hates John, so I don't know how good could he be.
He did a pretty good job in
Did
that
he?
show. I actually watched it yesterday, and yeah, he came off pretty good. In that argument for sure. Well, I wouldn't even call it an argument. It was just a cordial conversation back and forth for an hour. It's basically like he's making really good points, and she comes back. He's like, "Yeah, but I hate Rolo." He's like, "Well, the RP isn't about Rolo. It doesn't start with Rolo, and it's not going to end with Rolo." Which there you go.
I think he fucking learned. That's good. Honestly, I wish more guys would do that when they keep thinking about like it's about the debate. It's like it's not about the debate. It's about the aesthetics. It's about like the subtext.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, as long as Nuke goes on there and just acts like a normal, charming individual.
It's exactly what he did. He had the chick laughing by the end of it. So
that's good. If he gets her on a treadmill, now we'll be somewhere.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even mean to poke fun. I don't really have an opinion on her. I didn't. I ended up getting in a little bit of a spat with her, but I didn't know it was her until like near the end when her prison record came out. Which I'm not gonna lie, out of all the great reveals I've ever seen, that one's pretty much up there. Men don't take accountability. Hey, this you?
Boom. Yeah.
And then the worst part is like the only thing that got circled in red was the weight.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck.
Oh man, it's like Zero HP Lovecraft. He'll do this on Twitter. He'll just find like any picture of any woman, no matter who it is. It could be the most drop dead gorgeous chick, and he just quote tweets it. She could lose weight. He does it like once every other day.
Oh yeah, the middening.
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't believe how mad chicks get over. Well, I mean, I can believe it why they get over mid because everybody wants to be special, and just saying you're not special.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the old MGTOW quote that when your entire life has been being coddled, like honesty looks like oppression. Or I think I'm fucking up the quote, but you know the one.
Yeah. I talked to our friend Gio about this. Like he came on my show and we talked about like the mid phenomena and everything. And I was picking his brain, being the internet historian that he is. He's like, "Oh yeah, well the term really caught on like the last like 2 years or so, and it's absolutely hilarious. To get the woman to chimp out about it. It's so good."
Yeah, thank you for introducing me to Gio, by the way. He's one of those hidden gems I never would have expected to like engage or like with on that. But yeah.
He's a very pleasant guy, and he's very, very smart as well.
Yeah. He needs to do better marketing. I always like saying I'm criminally undervalued, but he's the guy I look at thinking, man, you're criminally undervalued. Yeah. Oh, and there's Claudio, $5. See, I like this. He knows to add the cent there. No heartfelts. Completely disarmed her at the end. That show was more practice for me. Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's why you're good too, as opposed to a lot of podcasters, Nuke. They always make it about themselves, and you realize it's about the audience. And so you gave them a show. Here is how you talk to a girl, and like John, I get it. He's playing to his audience too, but like, fat bitch, fucking psycho, she's out to get me. They love that shit. But then you're like, hey, and all you do is avoid the words fat bitch and suggest she's out to get you, and then just be charming, and then watch her act charming, and all that crap that everybody was arguing about just didn't matter. Speaking of guys that need a bigger audience, Nuke would be a good example of that.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So
Brittany Renner and Myron. What the fuck does this mean? What's a Brittany Renner? Is that chick that Christmas that was doing the Tate thing and I was making fun of?
Was she the chick that was telling people to like fuck with celebrities or something like that and like stealing for money? I don't remember. I don't care. I can't be bothered to deal with all the fucking drama.
I'm with you, man. It's hard to keep track more often than not when somebody's like, "Oh my god, did you see what this person said?" I'm like, "Who?" And then the only reason I know them at all is because everybody keeps sending me screenshots in DMs.
It's the same. Bitch. It's the same thing with on right wing Twitter and such. And
really,
it's funny, So those guys that know me IRL know that I fucking despise group chats. I hate them. I'm at work all the time. My phone's going off all the time. So I have a policy like IRL. I just silence every group chat. And the thing is as well is that it's kind of like one of these things that you do in right wing Twitter is you get invited to like these, giant group chats and everything, and similar to like the ones that like we've got, right? And that's
technically my first one. RAR Squad, my first one.
Yeah, and that's really the only one I've actually stayed in because all the other ones, like, are you familiar with Telegram?
Yeah, I know Telegram.
Yeah. So like Telegram is like where everyone is like, oh, you got to go over there and get in the group chats over there and such. And before you know it, you're in like a dozen of these things with different people, and your phone is just nonstop, like locked with notifications. It's like, dude, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a trades guy. I'm out working every single day. I cannot be, taking my eyes off of my hands when I'm working to go look at like a notification on my phone and cause problems. So it's like I just remove myself from all of them. basically, because I don't have time for it, man, and I'm not going to be like a prolific poster in there. So what's the point of me even being in this thing? So I'm just going to go roll, do my own thing. And this causes problems. Well, I won't really call them problems, but people will come in and be like, oh, do you know this drama with this certain person? This certain said this thing. It's like, no, I don't fucking know.
No. Well, it never matters. Look at that,
exactly.
Simon. Giant group chats. Look at this.
Yeah.
Sir, this is a wholesome, family-friendly podcast. How dare you suggest... How dare you suggest the bedmass people are involved? Well, that's good, though, because I don't know. Roar Squad was just because... That started because some guy was like, these guys are just sitting in their group chats, like, sharing notes and shitting on us. And I'm like, fuck, it's not a bad idea. And then it started the little T-Rex one. And it's just for us to, like, basically post goofy memes and laugh at people. That was really all it was for.
Pretty much. And I like it. It's not, like 100 notifications a day, which is nice,
Oh, even then, I still silent it. Half the time, I don't know what the current conversation's on, but then I'll see a meme of some whammon doing whammon things, and it just cheers me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's fun.
Yeah,
but you definitely have to, if you're going to be online with any. Well, here's the other thing. On Twitter at this point, I don't understand why anybody is on Twitter if you're a normie. If you're not like there to engage in the political process, or you're not there to have a brand or something like that, then why the hell are you there? I can't imagine.
I can't either. I really don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then here we go, Claudio. Yeah, you went from screenshotting and sexualizing her to having on my show giggly then. Yeah. Nuke, they don't. You actually have to flat out spell it out for them. Trust me. I've been down this road. You have to. You have to have a breakdown, a reaction video to your own show explaining the thing. I got that with Erudite where they're like, how come you didn't push back and yell at her for this? She was being things. And I was just kind of like, I trust you as the audience to see the dynamic and make up your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like all I did was put it out in front of you. You don't need me to yell at her. In fact, that would make her clam up.
Yeah.
The softer you are, the more honest people are in front of you. That was like my biggest dating thing. Like, I don't know if you ever do. I don't know like what your like girlfriend, wife side of things. But when I was dating seriously, a lot of the times it's just, hey, come over to my house. We just have some drinks and then just talk. I'll confess some like whatever, some nonsense thing, and then just watch what they confess back. And then just quietly like, all right, this might be our last date for a bit. I'll let her know later.
Yeah, you give people enough ropes they can hang themselves with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Look at this, a little self-aggrandizing. Well, that's not. Remember, you know how TV takes 20 pounds off of you, Nuke? The internet takes 20% of your personality away, so you really have to like up your... Like, I'm not normally this loud, and I don't wave my hands like this, and even this is boring by podcast standards. But that's because I'm staring at a photo of a fucking hawk here. It's really hard to get... Like, all I see is a little bubble go out every now and again. That's all my feedback.
It strikes terror in your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Honestly, that's one of my favorite parts. Like, I know you probably do, like, the ones you do with, like, in real life face people. You can see what they're looking at. You can kind of tell when they're drifting off in the conversation. You can see... Like, remember the one where they, what is it? You look up like this, and already I know whatever comes up next is going to be somebody making some shit up for me.
Some bullshit. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, for your audience, if you guys ever see this, when they're talking to you, they open their mouth, look up into the, up into the left. I think I'm mirrored here, so up into the left.
Yeah.
As soon as you see that, that's accessing the part of your brain that's not memories, but like creativity. And so it lets you know they're trying to invent some shit.
Who would ever do that in a discussion, Ryan? Come on.
Yeah, who would ever do that? It's like, I was on Reddit, sir. I know how this shit works. Don't you give me your whole, well, show me the study. Fucking assholes.
I'm a 29-year-old, psychology degree having, whammon with a bunch of simps around me. I know everything about the red pill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what was the question? It's like, yeah, well, who do you talk to on the red pill? Well, Andrew Tate and Myron. I'm like, all right, well, let's unretard this shit right now. And what can you do but laugh, though? Honestly, like
exactly.
Like, I don't watch right-wing stuff, except for if it's from you or Roland. You're the only two guys that I'll watch it from, mostly because I just find you entertaining on your own. But it is very funny to see the exact same stuff. It doesn't matter where you are, red pill, right wing, underwater, basket weaving. Everybody's got that same dynamic in place. So it kind of lets you know these are more fundamental issues as opposed to like some problems with a niche.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's probably very true. I mean, like AA says all the time, it's like, we're children of the ashes. Like, we live in like a fallen world. And he's not saying it in like a Christian kind of way, but he's just pointing it out. It's like, our society is like kind of fucked, you know, and there's not too much you can do about it. So just do what you can. And now everyone's doing $5 1 cent. Yeah.
Yeah. Irreverence is a superpower. Oh, it's Saxon's one. Missed stream. Took V card from chick priority. Your best in RP. Only one I lesson to don't have 5 hours for Rolo Rich the actual. Dude, there's like 8 tweets of things in there. I think I got it. So you didn't catch the erudite stream because you were having sex with a virgin. Congrats. I'm the best. Thank you. I only listen to you. Good. I don't have 5 hours for Rolo, and Rich is actionable, but get nothing out of it. Okay, thank you, I think. For all that. And then Dev. Dude, Dev's one of my favorites as like regulars in the chat too. I'm starting to think that guys need to learn to be with some friends with some women to get laid, but in order to have abundance and be socially accepted.
Friends with dudes first.
Yeah, friends with dudes first, but I get what he's saying, and I'm curious what you think of this, where like women always have a tempering effect. You put a bunch of guys in a room and there's never any girls around, they start to get pretty extreme pretty quickly. And then usually just having some exposure to girls, not even in the same group, but just occasionally a co-ed space, helps kind of bring a guy back to that Overton window of normal. And I think the only issue now is that we've gone so far to co-ed spaces that there's no guy spaces to bring any balls back into a guy's way of looking at the world. But yeah, I think guys just need friends at all. Like just to talk to somebody socially.
Yeah, no, very much so. I agree with that. You know, it's just you see it in like the IRL events that I go to, and we've kind of basically come to this theory where we kind of do a very, very high barrier to entry, and like this event we're hosting, it's $500 for a ticket, you know, and that cuts out all like the spurgery that's going on there.
Sorry, you cut out
like
there for
$500.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was, yeah. So $500 a ticket, you know, and it really cuts down on all like the spurgery and everything. Everyone passes like the physiognomy test when like they show up and everything, and nobody's an idiot like saying, you know, ridiculous shit like, oh, we need to, you know, go storm the Capitol. You know,
no old Fed postings.
Yeah, nobody like that, you know, and it's good, you know, like gatekeeping the communities. People know what the hell they're talking about. Nobody's like spurging out or everything like this. And it's just refreshing to actually have discussions with other guys in real life, as opposed to like on Twitter where everybody's just fighting over like the most minuscule thing in the entire world. And it's just so unproductive.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird. I don't know. That nobody makes friends anymore at all. It seems foreign to me. And I guess the military helped with that because it's very easy. It's like going to college. There's so many people around you all the time that you can't help but getting along with others. Even the people you hate. That's my favorite lesson from the military, is where you have like real beef with somebody and you can't stand them, and then you have to go eat dinner together, and then you go sleep like 2 feet away from each other, and you have to get up again and shower like beside each other, and you're just like,
yeah. Well,
like hating this guy can only go so far. What are you gonna do? A fist fight? Then what? Oh, then we're gonna go to dinner.
Yeah.
I guess I better get over this.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's such like an overlap with so many of the things like you're friends with dudes for is an overlap with how to deal with chicks. It's like agree and amplify works perfect for dudes in like a friendship. Like a guy says like, oh, you're gay. It's like, oh yeah, I'm the gayest guy ever. You know, that's just another form of agreeing and amplifying. So.
It's true. Unless you're actually sucking dick, in which case you're just going clean, which...
Well,
whatever.
You know.
This is the month to do it. If anybody wants to come out, super chats are welcome.
Hey, I will not slander Dinosaur Awareness Month with, you know.
Oh yeah, isn't that the meme now? Everybody is slowly, like Major League Baseball is getting rid of their rainbow stuff.
Thank God.
I don't know if those are real or not. I'm just laughing, so I'm just gonna play it up as if they've decided to get on board with Dinosaur Awareness Month and change their logo to green.
I hope so. No, we can only dream.
Yeah. It only takes one bitch man to expose locker room talk. Well, see, in the issue here, Torshi, it's not that they're like exposing it to what? To women. And it's that the guys buckle once women get their panties in a bunch. That's the issue. So again, as much as like I'd love to say women are ruining men's spaces, they're really not.
Yeah,
thirsty guys are.
I have a perfect example of this. So I did the last day I was over in Europe. I was in London, and I sent out a tweet. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a meetup with a bunch of fans. We call them basket weaving, like in our community. So it's like, okay,
reference.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a basket weaving meetup at a bar. And 15, 20 guys showed up. And naturally I was, you know, we're talking back and forth. We're talking about like women in our spaces. We're talking about like RP stuff because people want to ask me about it and all these things. And I just, you know, engage in some locker room talk with some very well-known like right-wing women. I'm like, yeah, would, obviously. And lo and behold, the next day I'm flying across the pond to come back home, right? I turn on my phone when I get off at Dulles Airport in Washington, and lo and behold, I've got a DM from this chick that I said I would. And apparently one of those guys, one of the 15 to 20 dudes, went and ratted me out. And I ended up getting in contact with the guy who ended up hosting the event. It was like, hey, just so you know, you got a turncoat in here. Better watch out. But, you know, you just handle the situation accordingly. Like, of course, I'm not going to apologize, you know, for like saying would, because obviously would, you know, and everything like calmed down after that and everything. But it's just,
I can only imagine that the girl coming to DMs. What's this I hear about you said would? It's like, well, it's easy enough to solve. Just be ugly and I'll never say it again.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know, I was thinking at the top of my, you run through your mind. It's like, okay, how am I going to address this properly? Because, you know, already me being associated with, you know, like the RP stuff, it's like degeneracy, blah, 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 blah. That coming out is already going to cause like, you know, I don't like to think of myself like as a brand, but at the same time, you know, you just look out and you're like, okay, this is going to look bad. You know, like this prominent, very attractive, like woman in the right wing space, you know, who everybody respects. And then like,
was it Blair White? No,
no, it's hilarious. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, okay, how am I going to respond to this? I could respond it by saying, oh, well, just be thankful you're attractive enough for me to talk about, you know, and I was like, you know what? That's normally how I'd address this, but you know what? This probably isn't going to be the best thing. And then I basically just addressed it. It was like, yeah, I understand. I'm not going to apologize for what I said, but it won't happen again. You know, and that's basically all you can kind of,
not bad.
Yeah. And it's basically like all you could do with it. Cause you know, like, or, you know, what are you going to do? Like, oh my God, you know, I can't say apologize to a woman or anything like this. Like that's not alpha or whatever the fuck, you know, it's just, you handle the situation and you move on, you know, like and that's all it was. And of course, nothing really bad came of it, you know, and there you go.
Well, no, honestly, I think, and from what I've seen, this is the one thing I love about Vox Day. I know everybody.
Oh, yeah.
He's not like everybody thinks he's red pill. He's really not. But his book, Social Justice Warriors Always Lie, when he brings it up.
Absolutely necessary reading.
Yeah. I 100%. People are still getting canceled, and all they have to do is look through it. The big part for me was just, the apology, why apologies never work. It's because guys, as apologies, you think it's like, oh, it's about, I feel bad. I didn't want to do this, but it happened and I'm taking ownership of the problem and I'll fix it. But women don't think of it that way. They look at everything through that solipsistic lens. And now this is like, your critique was correct. And now you can attack me for this so you can get clout in this community. And it just turns people into like a whipping boy. And God, how many cases have you seen where a guy's like, I've been apologizing for this for 3 weeks. I don't know what more you want from me.
Yeah.
They're like, they want your scalp, sir.
Yeah, exactly. They're out for blood.
Oh.
You know,
Speaking of blood, here's an important question for the $2 here. An S&W 460 XVR or a Taurus Raging Hunter? I'm assuming those are
they're guns. Yeah, they're guns. I'm not a fan of Taurus.
Ships have guns, sir. They have rifles.
Very true. I'm not a big fan of Taurus at all. I think their guns are cheaply made and they break all the damn time. So I'd probably go with Smith & Wesson. But I don't know. I'm a Glock fan, you know, personally. I know a lot of people. Yeah. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I like my Glocks. And you know, I liked Remington as well until they went under, which is sad.
Wait, what happened
American
to Remington?
brand.
Weren't they one of the classics?
No, they went out of business in like 2018. The issue was they made this rifle, the Remington 700, and there was a major malfunction with the gun that in cold environments, when you'd flick off the safety, it would engage the firing pin and the gun would fire.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah, and so there were a couple cases of, you know, people shooting each other on accident by flicking off the safety, and there was this one huge case where some kid ended up killing his brother. It was like a 14-year-old kid ended up shot his like 12-year-old brother and killed him, and so they got sued into oblivion for it. And
that's the worst too, because the kid's doing proper safety and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I guess except for the pointing part, but I mean, even then, you
yeah,
can't trust the safety. So just because I'm Canadian doesn't mean I'm not a fan of guns. I'm just not a big gun guy. Same as like you with cars, where it's like I'm not against them.
Yeah.
Like I probably can still sit here and field strip a Sig P277 or a C8 or a C7, which I guess is the equivalent of an M16 or a what's the bigger one? What's the belt fed one?
M4. Oh, M60.
Yeah, an M60, an M60, an M4, and an M16. For Canada, it's just the C6, C7, and C8. The only difference is ours have full auto switches, not the 3 burst.
Ah.
And then we finally switched over to the SIG because our old, I think it was the Browning we used for a handgun was just horrible, and it was like 100. It's like America if they were to still use the fuck's that one? The American pistol. Yeah, if they were still using 1911s.
Yeah, they still make them, and some of the companies they're really, really nice. I mean, SIGs are a little heavy. When you're carrying an 8-pound piece of iron on your hip, it can be a little bit of a nuisance. But
not fair. I don't know. I think that's why I liked it, because it was heavier, so it helped me get better spreads when I was shooting. But that's just me. I don't have a huge amount of experience to draw back on here. That and the Browning 50 cal. I was qualified in that. That was always fun.
Cool. And I'm like the total opposite. I got my first gun when I was 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like, okay, it's time. Time for you to learn about gun safety and time for you to go hunting, and then that was it. So
fuck, I had such shitty parents, man. My stepdad had his little gun locker. I wasn't allowed to touch any of them, and then my mom got like a Colt 22, like an old 6-shooter, and she used to hide it under the bed. She's like, that's if your father ever gets uppity. And I was never allowed to touch that either. And I kind of played with them a bit, but I never got to go hunting or shooting at all until I joined the military.
I'm trying to set up a hunt either late this year or early next year with a couple like the masculine geek guys and everything. Go hunt some wild boars. That would be really, really fun if we can end up pulling it off.
I can see that being a good time. Vince and the boys, they're always fun. The D&D games we're having together, they're pretty funny.
Yeah.
All right. And then Nico here, do you want a Glock 10 for bear defense? Good luck with that, sir.
Nah, he needs something a little bigger.
I guess you could scare him with the sound.
Yeah.
Unless he's hungry.
Yeah. I have a crazy story that I will eventually be writing on my Substack about one of my family members when they got attacked by a bear in Alaska.
Oh, really? Brown, grizzly, polar?
Brown. It was a brown bear and her 2 cubs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dicey.
Yeah, it's a wild story.
Oh, and then Jason here with his $6.99. Can you please repeat what book you were talking about earlier, Social Justice Warrior? And then the green line stuff. Here, I'm going to go pull up the Vox thing. Do you want to start talking about Riv?
Oh, my God. I mean, you're going to talk about him more than I do. I mean, all I know him for is the complete... I mean, I have him blocked because I can't stand his bullshit. But, yeah, the insufferable green line test. I mean, it is funny for the meme because, like, it does, like, cross over into right-wing stuff. Like, I remember during the debates between, like, Trump and Biden, there was, like, green lines going on in those. So, like, it's funny for the memes, but, like... This is why I love this term manosphere TM. Like, this is your brain on manosphere TM. It's like if you're really concerned and worried about your posture, some random guy who's going to take a picture of you like across like the park or whatever, and like you're leaning into your girl or something. It's like, stop. Why are you worrying about this stuff?
Oh yeah, I agree. All right, so I threw the link to the Vox book in the chat, and Dave also put it up. My opinion of Rip hates me. That's what I love. Any clown on Twitter, like, oh yeah, they hate me. He was just originally a pickup artist, and he was doing all the standard pickup stuff that you see all the other guys put on. And I guess back then he admitted he was moving to Spain because the age of consent there is 14, and he wanted to hit on high school girls, which, I mean, whatever. It's not illegal. I don't care. Everybody else was all morally, bankrupt on that. I'm like, it's the least of the things to worry about with Riv. And at one point he's always doing the same green line things. Jason Statham is the greatest man who ever lived. And at one point, Justin Wang, you know who he is or no?
I know the name, but I couldn't point to any of his work.
He's a pretty big YouTuber. He's in a metal band, and he does like the 4chan posts, like the Super Hornio Brother, Mario Brothers porn parody, or like the cum jar on 4chan. He does like, tales from the internet about this kind of stuff. It's fairly big. He was talking about, like, have you guys seen this green line shit? And then Riv blew up. And now he was in this box where he's now the pickup artist that only slept with 8 women in 10 years in Spain. But now he's popular for the green line thing. So he had nowhere else to go but like lean into it. And that's why everything became green lines. And he started adding like green triangles and all this shit. He just like, okay, so clown is my thing. And he just kind of went with it. And now he'll forever be the guy who draws green lines.
Yeah.
Because he's not the pickup artist that gets laid.
Exactly. I like I was saying, I do find it funny when it like bleeds over into other memes and things like that. But as it relates to how to conduct yourself with the women, no, it's stupid.
Oh, it was horrible. He would have been the kind of guy that I would have like based an entire episode of my old Manosphere morning talk show things on, making fun of his stuff. That's how bad he was.
Yeah, you stopped making those because you just didn't want to see the Spurgery anymore.
I just did. Honestly, everybody else loved him. I didn't. I hated it. You know that joke about clowns aren't funny or clowns aren't happy? It was very clowns aren't happy. The one guy, you never fall in love with your kids. You don't want to become a simp. And I was just like, Jesus. I'll laugh at this, but it's hard. It was like Pearly. They were supposed to be a Red Morning ad for Pearly. I had it all set up. It was that Me Too accusation she gave to her volleyball coach or whatever, the guy who trained her forever. If you guys don't know the story, Pearly had this coach. Her, dad paid for all this shit. And she went off to college. And then she came back. Her coach and her got together, have a beer. Coach hit on her awkwardly. And then she's like, well, now I got to get him fired. And so, because I got to think about the other women out there. So she Me Too'd her coach because he awkwardly hit on her after she graduated and was, of age, all that stuff. So technically he didn't do anything wrong, but fuck that. And I remember she let it slip in the middle. Like, yeah, I remember back at the time I kind of hated my dad, but we're cool now. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, here we go.
This is the perfect example. Like that's up there with like with what's her face and the fucking arrest warrant. It's like, this is your leader, boys. This is what you're going with.
I've seen her tweets the past couple of days, and I'm just laughing my ass off because she's going off on like Abba and Preach, and she's calling them CNN fake news channels. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Holy shit!
Just wearing like the Trumpism as like a skin suit, getting ready for that pivot for election season. It's crazy.
You guys really need to shorten that, man. Get it down to like 6 months. That would do the world a great favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be. I'm here for it, man. I'm gonna be laughing my ass off like every single step of the way. I'm so excited. I know everybody here is just like, oh, it's gonna be horrible. It's gonna be no. I'm getting my popcorn ready. I'm getting my cigars lit. Oh man, it's gonna be
fair
fun.
enough. You're gonna be the two Muppet guys. Was that Statler and Waldorf and Statler or whatever?
Yeah. But you just have to laugh at all this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a complete fucking clown show. We literally have a guy who's 200 fucking years old, can't even walk, can't even talk, is going up against a guy who's paying porn stars and was a celebrity TV host, and just a complete meme from the internet.
You gotta admit, Biden has that whole Caligula made his horse a senator vibe to it. You do gotta admit that. I'll grant you that one.
Yeah. But
I'm liking it just because everybody who's all about I'm here to help men and I'm red pill, they're all gonna leave. So I'm happy for.
That absolutely will be nice. But speaking of Caligula, Bap has a whole section in his book about how much he loves the man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he loves Caligula.
I got to learn who he is now. I just know the reference. I don't even know who he is.
He's the third emperor of Rome, and was infamous for doing all kinds of like loony kind of shit like that. But Bap's argument is like, no, Caligula is peak like masculinity because he could literally do whatever the hell he wants. He calls him the first troll in history. He's like, there's this story where Caligula, he took something like 83 or 81 ships on the ocean right outside of Rome, and he commissioned a bunch of sand to be put on these ships until the point they were just sinking low enough where he could walk on water. So he made this illusion where he could fulfill a prophecy, and Bap calls him like the first ever troll. He's so hilarious.
That's funny. Dude, by that logic, then you could argue that Trudeau was like one of the more masculine world leaders out there because he's essentially doing that petty tyrant dictator stuff. Dude, a bunch of truckers protested outside his house. He sent in the shock troops.
Yeah,
started stomping old ladies. He got a Me Too accusation from a chick at a concert, even, and he's just like, people remember things differently, and that was it. He fired his first Indigenous female attorney general because she wanted to charge somebody who was one of like his donors in his home riding. He's like, nope, get the fuck out of here. The consultants need their payback.
That really just is like the most important thing for people to understand about all politics is none of it is about principles. It's all about power. Friend enemy distinction. That's it. It's like when you're in power, you reward your friends and you punish your enemies. And that's literally it. Everything else is just BS, BS, BS. And therefore I do this.
Pretty much. Plus, he's the first pickup artist prime minister in Canadian history. Everybody forgets that. Because he used to have these old photos with like the soul patch. Remember when soul patches were in? Actually, you might not remember, but
No.
it was in like 2003. Everybody loved having giant soul patches. He had a soul patch. He had the big mustache. His goofy hair again. And he used to have this routine he would do where he'd be talking to a chick, and then he would accidentally fall downstairs, and then she'd go to see if he was okay, and that was his gimmick. And I always laugh at that one.
God.
It's on some French news thing, and I just laugh. It's like, dude, the trust fund pickup artist is now the one deciding to declare martial law because somebody's fucking, hey,
Honking a
give me
horn.
my job back. He's like, no.
Wow.
Oh, look at this. Gov had one, 2005, 2006. I guess we got to go, though. Rule Zero's starting in a little bit. Do you got any closing thoughts before I end this off?
Not too much, man. Thanks for having me on. It's fun stuff. If people want a more, let's call it more edgy breakdown of BAP's book, because obviously it's very not safe for YouTube, check out my channel. I did a breakdown of it for like an hour, and you guys can listen to that and then maybe determine, after hearing all the really edgy parts of the book, you could determine if you want to go read it or not. But other than that, just understand that basically everybody on like establishment right-wing circles is just begging for approval from the women. And the biggest goal is just, hey, just do your own thing, man. That's all I could say.
All right. I'm going to put a link to your thing here. I'll put it in here. I'll also throw it in the description. Guys really do follow it. I like it. And this is coming from a guy who should be cheering red pilled content, but like I can't stand it. So I'd rather you watch something useful.
Yeah. Thanks for the shout out, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, hey, no worries, dude. We're going to do this again. I don't know when. I'm kind of lazy with scheduling, but I'll figure something out. All right, guys. We're doing the outro.
79T 2458 Learning Corp Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.